third stop of this 9-game road trip brings the Orioles to Cleveland. It's a new city, and the O's are looking for a new start. And tonight the club will hand the baseball to Mike Wright, who's looking to start the series off on the right foot. The 26-year-old has allowed only 2 earned runs in each of his last 2 starts. Can he keep it going, looking for his 3rd win of the year? We'll find out next on MASN. It's the Orioles on MASN on a very warm Friday night in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the Orioles and Indians. Tonight it's the opening game in this 3-game weekend series. And hi, everyone. Jim Hunter with Jim Palmer. And Jim, the Orioles reached the final stop on this 3-city road trip that actually got off to a good start. Back-to-back wins last Friday and Saturday in Anaheim. But the Orioles have now lost 4 consecutive games. The hitting struggles are obvious, but I know that you break out of losing streaks when you have good pitching. Now, Mike Wright goes to the mound. He's pitched very well in his last 2 starts. O's have won both. Can he keep it going?
Well, let's hope so. And, of course, the Orioles got in, 4:30? Probably got to bed somewhere around 5:30. I actually think that maybe that'll help. Maybe we'll relax a little bit more. They were probably over swinging. So these are the numbers for Mike Wright. He's almost gotten them 6 innings a start. We like that. The fact that, again, when you look at the other numbers, the runner and scoring position numbers pretty good. Now, they will have 5 lefties in the lineup. So they don't get him a whole lot of runs. The average goes up against left-handers. And the other thing is the 3rd time through the order, that's when you have to pitch a little bit. Maybe that's where he struggles. The batting average goes up. So he kind of starts out high. The 2nd time he's real good, but he has given him a chance to win, and that is your mission here. It's a good test because, the Indians play well here. They're 11-8. They score about almost 5.5 runs a game at home. They're a well-balanced team. They're playing well, and the Orioles are going to have to get back on track, but they're going to have to do it against a team that has been, as I said, playing well, and it's not always easy to do.
And Mike Wright, in his last start in Anaheim, he took a no decision, but he gave the Orioles a chance to win, and the Orioles did win.
Yeah, they didn't play very well defensively behind him, which is unusual, so he made a lot of good pitches. He got an early 4-1 lead, and then you can see the stuff is there. I actually kind of was rooting for him in the sense that I think he understood how good his fastball was. Adam Jones will run this one down as he usually does in the outfield. So, highly emotional guys. You can see, again, on the road, not always easy to win, but it's a process, and there are a lot of good things. I think probably the number one thing, the last thing you want to do is give up the big inning, and he's getting better at not doing that. So that's what the Orioles are looking for tonight.
So tonight, the opening game in this 3-game weekend series as the O's look to snap a 4-game losing streak. We're coming back to Progressive Field. Lineups at first pitch are next. And Jim, as the Orioles come into Cleveland, they're looking to break out of the offensive slump, and I guess the first step in doing that is making better contact.
Well, it is, and I had a chance to talk to Scott Coolbaugh. A lot of people saying, boy, he's under pressure as a hitting instructor. Boy, he's about as, what did Stuart Stott used to say, as cool as the underside of a pillow. I mean, he just figures there's a certain rhythm to hitting, and we had a chance to talk to him before the game started today.
Well, I think just bring back some positivity to our lineup a little bit. We've gone through some tough times the last 3 days, and everybody wants to talk about the strikeouts and things of that nature. But, with all that being said, we still had opportunities to win all 3 of those games in Houston with one swing of the bat with guys in scoring position, and it may have been the change of each one of those games. So we're just not scoring enough runs right now. The guys know that. We've done a great job this year of creating opportunities and being pretty good at those situations. And the last 4 days it hasn't worked out so well for us, but we'll get back on track. Just stay positive with them, and we're too talented of a group not to have success in the season.
Yogi Berra once said, "I ain't in no slump. I just ain't hitting." Is that the way you see the Orioles?
Yeah, I think that we all knew coming in there's going to be times in the year that we're going to be faced with some adversity. And I'm actually kind of embracing the adversity right now. I think it's good that a team has to be challenged every once in a while. You can't just go through a season where you think it's going to be a breeze. This is going to teach us a little bit about our mental toughness, about how to grind out through it. And again, I take a season like a rehearsal for the playoffs. You go through certain different things all through the year. And then when the playoffs come, you should have all those things underway so that when you come in those 5-game series or 7-game series, you know exactly what to do. And so we're in that mode right now, and we'll come out of it fine in the series.
Trevor Bauer's pitching for the Indians tonight, and a lot of people out there don't understand what kind of preparation you go through. If you walk down the hallway, you'll see the tee work, you'll see the soft toss, but hitting the ball to the opposite field, maybe subjugating your ego a little bit because this is a home run hitting ball club, is that a mental or a physical thing?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, hitting is mental and it is physical. When you're not feeling good about your mechanics in the box, it's hard to create a positive mental outlook on what you're trying to do. A lot of times you're not seeing the ball well, and it's tough to take the ball the other way, just not seeing the spin. And for me, it's about just getting back to who we are. We are a power hitting team, but we are a team that can take the walk. We can take advantage of situations with men in scoring position. We just have to slow it back down, make sure that we fight for a good pitch to hit. And if we do that, good things will happen.
I pitched for almost 20 years, and we always show the pitching coach going out to the mound or on the bench. Have you ever thought about going out to home plate in the middle of an at-bat?
Oh, I wish I had a microphone in the air, so I could just tell him, hey, slow it down, or take this ball the other way. He's going to throw you away. But you trust the players. These guys are very good. They have a lot of talent. It's tremendous talent in this lineup. I wouldn't want to be around any other group of guys. As bad as it seems and as good as it can get, it's a great group, and I'm pleased to be around them. It's just a matter of us just getting back on track, like I said, and fighting for a good pitch to hit.
Yeah, I think the one big number, Jim, that I saw, you had all the strikeouts. We can talk about that ad nauseum. Was the runner in scoring position number. But something like 8 for 50 or 40 on the road trip. So again, not what they want, and they're one of the better clubs of actually getting runs in when they get the opportunity. Just haven't done that over the 5 games, but definitely the 4-game losing streak, longest of the year.
So the opener of this 3-game series in Cleveland, the Southwest starting lineup for the O's: Southwest transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. Adam Jones in the leadoff spot. That is not a misprint. Hyun-Soo Kim gets his 3rd consecutive start. He was 5 for 7 in his 2 starts in the Astros series. Machado, Davis, and Trumbo DHing. Reynolds in right, then Scope, Flaherty, and Caleb Joseph.
And Trevor Bauer, he will, now that he's out of the bullpen, last year won 11 games, won 11-12 for him. A lot of fastballs. Now in that is also a cutter. He's got a good curveball. If you watch the games in Houston, his favorite pitch tonight might be the breaking ball, and he's got a big one. You can see almost a hit per inning, high ERA, coming off a game where he got roughed up by the Red Sox.
But again, I mean, just a guy that attacks him. He's a very aggressive. The Orioles have handled him very well. He's never beaten him. 0-2 with 11 hits and 8 runs in 11 innings. So we'll see how it goes. But again, this is a guy because other guys just pitched better in spring training. They put him in the bullpen, and then with the injury to Carlos Carrasco, he got back into the starting rotation.
And as this game gets underway, you saw the sun, the splash of sun behind the mound. So there's shadows towards the mound, then some sun, and then where Rajay Davis is in center field, back in the shadow. So at least the first inning or two, maybe a little tougher to see the baseball.
Well, it's always been that way. I always thought that you could almost pitch into the 3rd or 4th inning till, in most ballparks on the East Coast, until the lighting really takes effect.
So here's your leadoff hitter, at least for tonight. It's the 30th time in his major league career that Adam has led off. And he goes after the first pitch, and it's 0-1. And Buck Showalter asked why. He said the biggest reason was he just wanted to split up Jones from Davis and Trumbo, so 3 consecutive free swingers don't follow each other in the lineup. And a good take there, 1-1.
Yeah, not your ideal leadoff man unless he gets on. He's walked 12 times. The average obviously at 223, not where he wants it. And I think that's the difficult thing for hitters when you get off to a slow start. Adam in this case was hurt. The average actually, it doesn't go up if you walk, but you get better pitches to hit, and that's, you don't want to be hitting 223.
Ground ball towards the middle and a base hit to center field. So Adam Jones gets on with a leadoff single. He loves that leadoff spot.
Well, you're right. I mean, the bottom line, I think that this is kind of maybe a subtle way for Buck Showalter to tell Adam Jones, who's been swinging pretty much from his rear end, hey, leadoff guys, you look at pitches, you use the ball right there. Got a nice change up to hit. There weren't a lot of hittable pitches, to be quite honest, in Houston. Even though you could see last night in the 8th and 9th inning, the Orioles actually put some pretty good bats together. So, it kind of opens up some holes when you get on. And a typical Oriole team, they hit home runs, but they also create run scoring opportunities.
Kim batting second. He'll take strike 1. For the first time in his big league career, now 3 consecutive starts.
Yeah, and I think if they would, again, their advanced scouts would say you don't want to get behind him. I mean, he's a very just seems like that hit him, and boy, just hope that that's not going to really do something. Got him somewhere. He's taking everything off. He's got the wrist and the elbow. Boy, anytime anybody ever gets hit or you foul a ball, we go back to what J.J. Hardy did to his foot. He's been disabled since May 3rd. So a sharp breaking ball gets the top of the back foot.
Ryan Ebel out there with the skipper and Danny Lee, his interpreter.
I mean, just think about it. When you're hit, you have to load, so all your weight's on your back foot. It's hard to just lift it up. Buck Showalter commenting yesterday down in Houston, that Kim has gotten a lot faster. He's maybe dropped a few pounds since spring training and been running well. It's certainly not going to help that.
He's testing it out, jogging. And says he's okay.
Well, they came in 16 for 36. I told him today, I said, how many hits can one person get? Because he's been red hot, and even though this hurts, he gets on for the club. It's kind of a new version of taking one for the club. Usually you take it maybe in the arm or the leg.
Well, Trevor Bauer has now hit 4 batters in 39 2/3 innings. So the Orioles have 2 on and nobody out. So looking to break out against Bauer. Good chance to do it here in the first. Manny in the number 3 spot. He's got a 3-game hitting streak going. So showing some signs of possibly breaking out. 1 hit in each of the last 3 games. And a base hit to center field, and the O's are going to get the lead. Adam Jones around third. He will score easily. Throw goes to second base, and Manny Machado produces, and the Birds break on top.
Well, it's all about getting good pitches to hit, and when you get them, and this is going to be one. I mean, it's fastball right down. I don't know what Broadway is here in Cleveland, but that's where it ended up. Manny doesn't miss those type of pitches. Again, what did Adam Jones say? Look, I am so happy to get out of Houston, and certainly offensively that's been the case.
So Kim goes to second, Manny at first, still nobody down, and here's Chris Davis. So the O's get Mike Wright a lead before he takes the mound.
Well, they did that in Anaheim. They led off Rickard and Machado with back-to-back home runs. And before the third inning, Santiago starting that game, he would actually leave it, get thrown out of the game. He would throw 3 home runs. Didn't like the strike zone. So a chance for a big inning.
And a strike in the inside corner for a 1-1 count to Davis. Bauer is out of Santa Clarita, California. 5th season. He was drafted in the first round out of UCLA by Arizona in 2011.
Oh, out of UCLA, and he was the 3rd player taken. Power arm, you know, unusual. Does the long toss where he throws the ball about 300 feet. Very critical of maybe a little bit uncoachable when he was with Arizona, which is why Cleveland was able to acquire him. I still think at age 25 he's just still learning how to pitch.
Yeah, you can see in college, if you have outstanding stuff, which he does, how that would enable you to get by hitters.
Well, he has a nice mix. He has like 5 or 6 pitches. Now, can you command them? I think that's the big thing you find at the major league level. It's great to have cutters and curveballs and changeups and whatever, but can you keep them out of the middle of the plate? Can you keep them, you know, at the knees to the high ball hitters and up to the low ball hitters? You can see, I mean, great attempt right there trying to throw it up and in. If it's probably 3 or 4 inches lower and it's maybe an inch or 2 more to the right, it's probably strike 3, but he missed. And now, I mean, there's a lot of pressure here. He's got to throw a strike to a guy that with one swing can make this game 4-0.
Runners don't go on 3-2, and it's fouled back.
Take a look at the defense here in Cleveland for the Indians. Ramirez, Davis, and Chisenhall, and another #1 draft choice, now playing the outfield. Uribe, Lindor, Kipnis, Napoli. We see him everywhere. Jimenez. When we were in Texas, he was on the disabled list, traded over to Cleveland.
Here's the 7th pitch in this at bat, about to be made to Chris Davis.
Well, Chris got a good pitch to hit up out over the plate, which is where his strength is. And we'll see if he wants to try to get into another area. But again, 3-2.
Upstairs, ball 4, and the bases are loaded, and still nobody out. Well, Bauer began the year in the bullpen, then went into the rotation, and it started out okay, but then he pitched at Boston against that red-hot Red Sox lineup.
Well, that'll put anybody in a slump the way they're hitting the ball. You know, again, you can look at all the numbers, and you know, of course, the last one is in Boston. All the other numbers are all right. And again, if your team is scoring a bunch of runs, and they do that at home, not as much on the road, about a run and a quarter less. And they also, you know, the other thing is, and they got to play Cincinnati. They played Cincinnati 2 at home and 2 on the road. They scored 44 runs in those 2 games. So some of the offensive numbers, you can't take it away from them. But when you talk to some of the Cleveland people, Cincinnati does not have much pitching, and the Indians took advantage of it.
The Trumbo with a big chance here, and he'll take a strike breaking ball in the outside corner.
Yeah, the more you see of Mark Trumbo, you realize he is his strength is up. So again, if you're Trevor Bauer, and I'm not saying this is easy to do when you've already given up a run and the bases are drunk, so to speak, full of people, you got to keep the ball down against Trumbo or you get yourself in trouble.
Trying to go the other way, and he lines it foul. Nice play by the ball boy.
And the one thing about it, if you're in trouble with one swing, I mean, you can change the course of the game. But the other thing is, I know this sounds maybe a little bit strange, but when you're struggling and you think you can strike somebody out, sometimes it's a good way to try to get out of innings. And that's what he's going to try to do here.
And the first hitter he's been ahead, 0-2 on Trumbo. And he fights it off to stay alive.
That's a really good foul ball by Mark Trumbull, because that was a good hook. And he's got them.
Well, they sure saw enough of those breaking balls in Houston.
Well, they were all talking, and again, Scott Coolbaugh said, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but they have LED lights. They do have the glass. There are a lot of reflections. And so maybe it was hard to see, and then they made great pitches. And that's a bad combination if you're trying to hit.
Another 0-2 pitch to Trumbo. And he got him. Swung at the breaking ball in the dirt, so Trumbo down on strikes for the first out.
Yeah, kind of a familiar scenario, because this is what Houston did. And again, the good overhand curveball, you just don't see a whole lot. And PNC. Well, that's certainly our Mercedes-Benz pitch track. Any way you look at it, it's that ball down and away, and it was perfectly thrown.
So one down now. Bauer will look for a double play ball. Here's Reimold. Nolan getting a start in right field tonight and batting 6th. And there's a fastball for a strike. Nolan 2 for 11 on the trip with a couple of RBIs. An RBI chance here. Fouls it back, so he's 0-2. So the last 2 hitters, Bauer gets ahead, no balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, the one thing you look at, and this is what he's trying to attempt, I mean, he came in with 37 strikeouts in 39 2/3 innings. Yeah, so when you get a power pitcher in trouble, and he gets ahead, as you mentioned, that's what he's looking for.
And he got him. Another breaking ball off speed, so back-to-back Ks, and he is 1 out away from getting out of major trouble.
Yeah, another great curveball. So he did watch the advanced scouting reports and the film. I mean, there's so much video available now. You still have to go do it, and that's exactly what he did.
Mercedes-Benz Pitch Tracks, presented by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. So it's up to Schoop to add to the lead here. O's had a run in, 3 batters in, and then Davis walked to load the bases. Now the bases loaded, 2 down. Bauer came into this game having allowed 37 hits and striking out 37. You don't often see a pitcher have the same number of Ks as he does base hits allowed. Fastball down and away, 1-1 on Schoop. Bauer, in his 5 starts since he joined the rotation April 30th, has gone 2-2.
Yeah, you just never ever know when you're going to get in a jam, or you're in, a clutch hit here will just, change the whole complexion of the game for the Orioles. And of course, if he's able to get Schoop out.
And a base hit towards the middle. It gets on through. Kim will score. Machado will score. And it's a 3-run first for the O's.
So again, Jonathan Schoop, of really almost all the hitters over the last maybe 10-12 days, he has used the middle of the field and right field about as well as anybody. And he just gets a cutter. They go away from the curveball. It stays up enough, and he pokes it right back up the middle. Kipnis can't get it. Lindor can't get it. So a huge, and I mean a huge, for a team that's struggling offensively, base hit with 2 outs.
Davis stopped at second, so Schoop with 2 RBIs. He now has, in the month of May, 17 RBIs. Here's Flaherty, a swing and a miss.
And Trevor Bauer has all the pitches. I mean, there's a perfect changeup. I mean, like I said, he's got the cutter. Seen a great curveball, good velocity on his fastball. But if you pitch in the middle of the plate, you take a team that's struggling and all of a sudden turn them into a pretty good hitting ball club.
Well, 3 hits in this inning, and they've all been singles to center field. So using the middle of the field, as you alluded to in your chat with Scott Coolbaugh. High pitch count first inning. Check swing, and it's a called strike anyway.
Yeah, there's another cutter, and plate umpire Lance Barksdale thought he swung. Another guy and Caleb Joseph on deck. These are two Oriole hitters with the injury of J.J. Hardy that just got to get going somehow. Yeah, maybe a jam shot. Try to make contact here with 2 strikes. Put the ball in play. Didn't even offer it, that curveball.
And it bounced in front of the plate. Jimenez a nice job. One of the things that is so strange about the Orioles' start to their season, we know how dangerous they can be when they're swinging well. They played 45 games and they've scored 2 runs or less in 14 of the 45 games, including last night. That's almost a third of the games scoring less than 2 runs. But they put a 3 spot up on the board here in the first.
Well, because they don't steal bases. They're not a a lot of teams that are slow. I don't think the Orioles are a slow team. They're just not a team when you hit home runs that you want to give up outs. Buck Showalter's not going to do that. They're not a station team. They can go from first to third. They can score on singles from second base. It's just they strike out a lot. Nothing happens.
Good take, ball 3. Some at bat for Flaherty.
Well, he's trying to strike him out. That's what happens when you're struggling in the first. If you're Trevor Bauer, you just want to go sit down. I mean, really. I mean, sometimes you want some kind of safe harbor, and that's the bench.
Well, the runners will be off as Flaherty awaits the 7th pitch in this at bat. And he fights it off to stay alive. Bauer, as Jim mentioned, was the number 3 pick in that 2011 draft. Garrett Cole, his teammate at UCLA, went number 1 overall to the Pirates. And the left-handed pitcher Danny Hultzen went to Seattle. He's out of the University of Virginia. Bauer went 3rd to Arizona, and Dylan Bundy went 4th to the Orioles. That was in the 2011 draft. Runners will go, and the 8th pitch to Flaherty is hit to center field. Will it fall? Davis is there, and it hangs up for him, and he makes the catch. Flaherty hit it well. Big inning for the Orioles and a good start. They put a 3 spot on the board. Mike Wright goes to work with the lead. Dog night. We may have to send out for a few. Let's get a look at the Indians lineup for tonight. Birds with a 3-0 lead. Santana, Kipnis, and Lindor with Mike Napoli in the cleanup spot. Home run and 4 RBIs in his last 3 games. Ramirez is in left, and Uribe and Chisenhall. Jimenez the catcher, Rajay Davis in center field.
So the ace start for Mike Wright. He gets presented with a nice 3-0 lead. A lot of fastballs. We see 91. We saw 96, 97 on occasion when he goes to the 4-seamer. Again, a little bit of it's kind of like a slurve. That's the breaking ball, change up. And you can see a few more innings innings pitched, 30 strikeouts, a little bit more of the fly balls, and then of course 5 lefties in the lineup. We'll see how that 368 number comes into play tonight.
Carlos Santana is DHing and leading off, and one reason for that is his ability to draw walks. 29 walks, which is second most in the league.
And his inability to drive in runs, hitting 195. So they put him up there and let somebody else drive him in. Yeah, one of those, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, he struck out 23, usually strikes out, what, about 140, 50 times. Yet he has such a discerning eye. He makes you throw the ball over plate. It's just a disconnect there somewhere along the line. Switch hitter, a lot of power. And really good from this side. You don't see too many left-handed hitters, and we've seen him go into the hedge straightaway center field here on high fastballs, really right around the Indians at the letter.
It's the shrubbery out there.
Yeah. There it is.
The shrubbery creates a nice batting eye for the players. Down and in, 2-2. Dennis Michael Wright, Orioles third-round pick back in 2011, same draft that Bauer went. He pitched in college in East Carolina. Outside, ball 3.
And I mean, to me, that's a critical pitch. A bunch of fastballs, and you try to drop off a curveball. Now you're a changeup, and now you're 3-2. You got to throw a strike. He's going to look fastball. The last thing you want to do. I just found in over 4,000 innings, it's harder to make a good pitch 3-2 than it is 2-2. Because you don't want to walk anybody. You got to throw from more of the plate.
Center field off the end of the bat. Adam Jones has a play. So Wright will win this battle. Adam has it for the out and 1 away.
Take a look at the Orioles defense here at Progressive Field. Kim, Jones, and Reimold. Flaherty, Machado, Scope, and Davis. Caleb Joseph is looking to get the bat going. He's behind the plate for the O's.
Yeah, Caleb probably figured that he was going to play tonight. Matt Wieters caught all 3 games in Houston, and then with the later early arrival, depending on your perspective, get some fresh legs in there behind the plate. Jason Kipnis now. And a breaking ball for a strike. Jason Kipnis was the Indians' second-round pick back in 2009. There's Wieters on the bench with the skipper. Probably was tough for Buck Showalter not to write Wieters' name in there, considering he's got a 7-game hitting streak going. It was 14 for his last 30.
Well, you got to give him some rest. 4 o'clock game tomorrow, so maybe he will actually. There's a good pitch that he doesn't get. I'm wondering where that knee-high fastball was, but you know, with 4 o'clock game, maybe he will play tomorrow and then on Sunday. It's one of those twilight games. One of those games, if you're a pitcher, you want to pitch where they can't. And then you know they can't see the ball.
Sliced foul down the line.
So Kipnis hitting 284 this May. Boy, we rolled in here last year right after he had 51 hits in the month of May. What an incredible 429, 15 doubles, I mean triples, home runs, 17 RBIs.
Well, the Indians have played themselves back into contention in the AL Central off their month of May. They've won 15 games this month. They won only 10 in April. And they just came off a 9-game road trip in which they went 6-3. And in the final 2 games, they beat Chris Sale and Jose Quintana.
Yeah, they won 3 out of 4 against the White Sox, and they were in front of them. It's a good thing to do.
And he struck him out. Real good off-speed pitch from Mike Wright.
Well, you know, your catcher's real important. He calls pitches a lot of the times. Look where the target is. I mean, Caleb Joseph gives him a great target, and he throws the ball right there. Again, when you get to 2 strikes, how many times have we seen Houston Orioles hitters chasing balls out of the zone because of the fact that the count was against them? You know, you reverse the count, they just take those pitches and they look for a fastball. When you get ahead, such a key to pitching.
Here's the youngster Francisco Lindor. And he'll look over strike 1. Just 22 years old and in his 2nd season.
What a player this kid is. Out of Puerto Rico, Caguas.
And we just saw Carlos Correa out of Puerto Rico for the Astros, and here's Lindor.
He was from Ponce. Ponce's kind of go over. When I played winter ball, I played in actually San Juan, but for Santurce. You had 2 teams back then. And Lindor was saying, he said, it's just not the same. Back then, Clemente would play. A lot of major leaguers would, that's how they get in shape for the season. I said, what do you do? He said, just train. Everybody has their own trainer now. Really good hitter, player, switch hitter, can run, do a lot of things.
Well, Correa and Lindor, they battled it out for the Rookie of the Year last year.
And they both came up in the middle of the season. Brad Mills on the right, Terry Francona, the manager, on the left there.
Check swing, appeal to third. He went too far. There's a strikeout to end the inning. So after the Orioles give him a 3-run lead, Mike Wright has a 3-up, 3-down, bottom of the first. Of the game, Cora Coates of Najamoy has won $500 for being selected and will win $500 more for every Orioles home run hit tonight. Play home run riches scratch-offs and win up to $50,000 or enter your non-winning tickets for a chance to be the contestant of the game. Visit mdlottery.com/baseball. Those fans here in Cleveland, and when I walked over to the ballpark today, quite a few were out for lunch. And here is Caleb. Caleb, the only Oriole not to bat in the first. And he'll take ball 1. And ball 2. Caleb is 0 for his last 13, so he's looking for a broken bat or a bleeder or a doink.
Yeah, even when he hits it hard, like he did off of Jared Weaver, they catch it, or he hits it at somebody. And Flaherty did the same thing. He hit the ball as hard to end the first as anybody, but hit it right to the center field to Roger Davis. And
well, 2-1 to count. Bouncer to third, played on the side by the veteran Uribe, and he gets it across for the out. Progressive Field here in Cleveland, and Jim, this has proven to be a very good ballpark for hitters.
Well, it has, and we told you Cincinnati came in here and gave up 28 runs in 2 games. So, batting average high, runs game high, ERA because of that, of course. And if you talk to anybody that ever plays here, a lot of it has to, whether you go to like Chicago, Cleveland, right, Lake Erie, just a couple of blocks from here. How's the weather in April and May? I look at those numbers and I figured the weather's been a little bit warmer. Maybe global warming has finally hit Cleveland. Progressive Field. Balls flying. Pitchers don't like it.
By the way, did you see they were filming a movie outside the ballpark today?
Fast and Furious 8.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what
Did you walk out the set to get in the shot?
No, I didn't.
And Adam Jones goes the other way. He's 2 for 2 in that leadoff spot.
Well, up the middle and then the other way. Let the ball travel. Use the whole field. Jonesy's 2 for 2.
Well, fans, on Monday you can celebrate Memorial Day at Oriole Park. The Birds are back home to take on the Red Sox 1:35. All fans will receive an Orioles Memorial Day t-shirt. So kick off the unofficial start of summer by honoring our nation's heroes and enjoy a great afternoon with family and friends at Oriole Park. And good tickets are remaining, but they're going fast with the Red Sox in town. So reserve your seats now. Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Here's Kim who swings through it. So Adam Jones with a 2-hit game. He had got 9 games without a multi-hit, and he's 2 for his first 2 tonight.
Yeah, he lead him off and becomes a punching Judy. It's a baseball term for hitting him softly. We'll like that tomorrow. And he's got probably, another 3 at-bats tonight.
Kim was hit by a pitch his first at-bat. Kim, his last 10 days, showing why he should be in the lineup as we look at our Jeep Inside the Numbers.
Well, again, he's hot. And you can see some of the hotter averages in the major leagues, and Joey Rickard, he's hitting 350, the 21st of April and 208 since. Still a very good defensive player, but Kim gets a chance to play. You need runs. And that's what we saw. You have a lot of guys, they swing through that breaking ball, and he just, something that he did in South Korea. He could hit for power, he could hit for average, but he could also keep bats alive. A lot of hitters will swing through that ball, and then Bauer gets a strikeout.
Kim battling here, the count 0-2. Left center field chases Rajai Davis back. He has a play, and he's got it for the out. Adam is tagging the draw throw and then puts on the brakes.
Yeah, might have gone back a little earlier. He might have even got a better jump. Davis doesn't throw well. And again, the ball is hit pretty deep. Looking over at Wayne Kirby and saying, maybe you think I could have made it. Would have been close, but the throw was offline.
There's Manny Machado. Manny jumped on the first pitch, his first at bat, and hit an RBI single to center field. The O's with an 8-batter, 3-run first inning. And Machado has a base hit off Uribe's glove, and Adam Jones is going to make it to third. The throw will not be in time, and because he threw to third, Manny slides into second. Big mistake there with 2 men down by Jose Ramirez, an infielder playing outfield.
Yeah, he comes in, and they don't cut the ball off. If they cut the ball off, may run himself out of the inning. But off the glove for Uribe, so Adam Jones knows he can get all the way to third. And here comes Ramirez. Barrett hands it. See Lindor coming over, but it's a very short throw, so the ball goes by him, and he doesn't cut it off, and then the Royals get the bonus.
Good base running by Manny. Good hustle.
Now, who do you want to pitch to? You're already down by 3. Do you want to pitch to Davis, or do you want to pitch to Trumbo? One of those gambles you have to take early. There's a pitch to hit in the middle of the plate.
Davis drew a walk his first at bat. The Orioles tonight are the only team in the AL East that is playing out of the division. The Red Sox are in Toronto and the Yankees are in Tampa. Up and in, ball and a strike on Chris. Orioles are 2 games back of Boston, but only 1 in the loss column. Jones at third, Machado at second with 2 men out. Orioles already have 5 base hits.
And there's a cut fastball. Well located right underneath his hands. That's what he threw the scope, but didn't get it in there, and got it right in the middle of the plate. Jonathan drove in the second and third run back in the first. Huge base hit for the Orioles.
Good leads by the base runners. 1 and 2 on Davis. Strike 3 call. Breaking ball in the outside corner. That is the 3rd strikeout for Bauer, who did not have a single strikeout in his last start. Ostrand 2, Mid-second, 3-0 Birds. One to look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Mike Wright at 3 up, 3 down, bottom of the first, looking to even his record at 3-3. He has wins against Boston and against Detroit, and he has allowed 3 runs or less in 3 of his 7 starts. First time he's ever faced the Indians. Ball 1 to Mike Napoli. Ramirez and Uribe will follow. Napoli in his first year with the Indians, he has been well traveled. Drafted by the Angels back in 2000, now in his 11th season. He has been with the Angels, then Texas, went to Boston, went back to Texas, and now in Cleveland.
Yeah, he was on the 2013 championship Red Sox team, and he hits everywhere he goes. Even when he played for the Angels. Apparently not a good enough catcher for Mike Scioscia, so off he went to Texas. Big time power. It really, you know, I mean, he brings numbers and a presence, a veteran presence to your lineup.
3-0 on Napoli, leading off in the Indians' second. Right there for a strike.
Yeah, Mike Wright was out about 4:15 or so, watching him take batting practice, because he getting pretty antsy, and because Napoli was hitting ball after ball to right center. It would have gone in. I didn't want to see that. Here's a good pitch.
Well, usually he sits in the stands and reads a book. That's how he relaxes before a start. It's been his ritual. So from 3-0 to a full count on Napoli. Hard hit ball to Manny. Oh, he gloved it. Plenty of time with Napoli running, and Machado makes the play for the out, 1 down.
I'm thinking, you know, I threw some balls where either Aparicio or Cal or maybe Mark Belanger drive them into left field. That's what this one does. It is smoked. Manny able to get it. Bad luck for Napoli. Good luck for good fortune for Mike Wright.
So Machado takes a base hit away from Napoli. Here's Jose Ramirez. One of 3 switch hitters in this lineup. Off speed pitch down and in. Ramirez is an infielder playing outfield. Just 23 years old, but in his 4th season already.
Well, they're very pleased. You know, not only has he played well, I mean, you know, great numbers with runners in scoring position, but that they're 5 games over 500 without Michael Brantley's only played 11 games because of shoulder problems, and also their best starter last year, Carlos Carrasco, who won 14 games for him. He has a hamstring problem, and probably going to rehab. So there's Brantley. Got a cortisone shot and got better after shoulder surgery, working his way back, playing every day. And he's an impact player when healthy.
Just outside, ball 3.
So a lot of pitches, and it catches up with you.
That ball's hit towards the gap. And it gets down for a base hit, and it goes all the way to the wall. Ramirez has tremendous speed. He's going to pull up at second base with a 1-out double.
Well, he does what he's supposed to do. He knows he's going to get a fastball. If he doesn't, he just look for it. Gets one out over the plate. This is what Jason Kipnis did when he got 51 doubles. He just kept hitting balls up the gap. Great angle right here. Fastball out over the plate. Didn't try to pull it. Slices it into the gap, and Kim will run it down at the base of the wall.
So 3-1 pitch. He gets one to handle. His 10th double on the year. 13th extra base hit. Here's the ancient one, Juan Uribe. 16th year in the big leagues.
Yeah, but what he can do is he's a terrific high ball hitter. And those numbers are obviously down for him. But a very dangerous guy because you just don't know. And I mean, when he goes to swing, he's going to swing. He can hack at anything.
And he rips it to left field, a hanging breaking ball, and that's going to drive in a run. Ramirez will score, and Uribe is chugging to second base, slides in with a double. So back-to-back doubles gets the Indians on the board and gets the crowd into the game.
Yeah, you get behind Ramirez. He's looking fastball, and then you hang a slider. It's so simple. Speeds the bat up. He hooks it into the corner, and you're right. And they're going to have a big crowd tonight, too. They're after around 14,000. Looks like they're going to have 30,000 here, maybe 28,000, somewhere in that range. So it's all, we saw the Orioles do this, it's all about getting good pitches to hit. The count has a lot to do with it.
Here's Chisenhall, first ball swinging. Upstairs with a fastball.
Yeah, injured early in the year. Again, another number one draft choice. Seemed to hit the Orioles well. Wrist and forearm problems, so and of course we knew him as a third baseman. Spinning. Ramirez, Hager to Uribe, and now into a hitter's count again, Chisenhall. Exactly what you don't want to be doing.
Line right to Machado. Throw to Stope, can't get there in time. Another hard hit ball right at Manning.
Yeah, and that's going to continue if you keep pitching in the middle of the plate and you keep pitching from behind. So the luck factor right here. Chisenhall has a quality at bat. They don't get the double play because Uribe gets back. But easily could have been a base hit.
The 2 down. Uribe gets back. And here is Chris Jimenez, the catcher. He's 3 for 8 in his 2-game hitting streak, but over a longer stretch, 3 for his last 15. Wright trying to get out of this with just the 1 run. The slider misses outside. And he falls behind another hitter. 2 balls and no strikes. Back-to-back doubles have plated a run for the Indians. Who's got their 3 in the top of the first. Bounces up in the stands. This is a nice ballpark to watch a game. You have the several unique aspects of it. The lower bowl. Then you have the bleacher out there in left center field. You've kind of a picnic area in front of the bullpens in right center field and the right field bleachers.
And then you have the backdrop of the city open center field.
To center field. That chases Jones. He's going to get there. And Adam runs it down for the final out. So Mike Grech gets out of it very inexpensively. We'll head to the third. The Orioles in front. The 4-game losing streak, which still is intact. The team batted a collective 195 and struck out 60 times in 4 games. Scored a total of 9 runs. Tonight in the first 2 innings, 5 for 11, so 455 clip. 3 strikeouts, but 3 runs scored in just 2 innings.
Yeah, they got the big hits. They could have gotten the big hits in the 4-game losing streak, especially the 3 games in Houston. Just didn't happen.
Yeah, they lost back-to-back games by a run, and then last night by 2 runs.
And that's all it takes. You go in. Houston was over 500. Played much better at home. Pitched much better. So this game, the way Wright was in the middle of the plate, you better score some runs. Could be a hit-a-thon.
Trumbo struck out in his at-bat in the first inning. Mark on the road trip 3 for 28 with 12 strikeouts in those 28 at bats. Chopper towards the hole, and it squirts on through for a base hit. So Trumbo gets on with a leadoff single in the 3rd. Next Sunday, June the 5th, don't miss this season's next Kids Run the Bases event as the Orioles take on the Yankees 135. As you know, after every Sunday home game, all the kids 14 and under can run the bases at Oriole Park. So why not make every Sunday Family Day at Camden Yards? Come on out and enjoy a great afternoon of Orioles baseball and cap it off with their kids getting a lifelong memory of running the same bases as their Oriole heroes. For your tickets, Orioles.com, 888-848-BIRD. 0-1 outside. So he fell behind Trumbo 2-0, and Trumbo gets a base hit. Now he's behind Reimold.
Yeah, he's trying to use all his pitches. It's just, that was a change up. It ended up in the middle of the plate. And again, it was up. Mark Trumbo doesn't miss too many high pitches. cutter that stays up. A little lower, it might have been a 2-run home run.
Reimold struck out in the first. He is 2 for 12 on the trip. He hasn't hit a home run since April 29th. Double play ball. Lindor to Kipnis, back to first, and there's a double play. Napoli keeping his foot on the base on that high throw, so a 6-4-3 erases the base hit. 2 men down in the Oriole third.
Yeah, around the ball and perfect double play ball, as you mentioned. Just not a very good turn. He kind of flips it because he thought he had a lot of time.
Adrian Johnson, the umpire out there, do you think he critiqued it? This was laughing after whatever Johnson said. Swing and a miss to Schoop. John had a huge 2-out 2-run single in the first to make a 1-0 lead 3-0. Breaking ball down and in. Bauer was traded to Cleveland in December of 2012, the following year after he was drafted. This ball's trouble to shallow right, and it falls in there for a base hit. Schoop is 2 for 2 as he dunks it in the right field for a 2-out single.
Yeah, you need a couple of those in Houston, just couldn't get them. Perfectly placed. And right off the trademark, Kipnis can't get it. There you go. That about sums it up.
You got to be kidding me. I make a great pitch and that happens.
Well, when you're on the mound and that happens and you see it go off the bat, you just know nobody's going to be there, and that's the result. Not a bad pitch, but a bad result. Good change up there.
So the Orioles in their first 3 innings have had multi-hit innings in each. They already have 7 base hits in this game.
And even Ryan probably had as good a bat as anybody in the first, but hit it right at the center fielder. He needs a doink. He needs a little jam shot. 14 hopper through the infield.
Pops it up. Uribe at third is calling. Mile high this pop up. It finally comes down. Well, Flaherty's over 2 in the inning ends. Couple of hits, 1 left. Mid third. Wright goes back to work. Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Chesapeake Employers Insurance, a workers' compensation insurance company. And by your Baltimore BMW centers. Visit BaltimoreBMW.com today for exceptional offers. Beautiful day and now evening downtown Cleveland. City's all crazy for the Cavaliers.
And why not? They're playing tonight, playing the Raptors, I think, at 8:30. Game 6 with a 3-2 lead. The Warriors down 3-1, won last night to force game 6. But Raji Davis, every year it seems like he's got a different uniform on. Tigers the last couple of years.
Up foul back this way. Jim Palmer's ready, and he ducks.
Wanted to dive out of the way.
Well, we have your prop ball here just in case you need it. I almost lost it today, though. It fell into the basket right below the booth, and the crew was nice enough to get it for me, just in case you need it. I have to take better care of that for you. Davis is first at bat. He's batting 9th.
Well, that's better than at the old ballpark here. That mistake down by the lake was huge, where somebody wanted to be like a ball. I think he was on LSD, jumped onto the screen, wanted to know what a ball felt like rolling down the screen. Didn't go well.
And he got him. Real good pitch. Third strikeout for Wright.
You know, for Mike Wright, it's about command. You know, it's obviously learning at this time. And here's the good slider. He gets, again, because of the strike, he gets Raji Davis to chase. It is very difficult when you're way over on the first base side to really throw a breaking ball that's a quality breaking ball that really is going to be in the strike zone very long, because you're so far to this side, and he has a tendency just to go over towards the Oriole dugout. So the only way to get it over, it kind of spins.
That ball's ripped but foul.
There you go.
That is a big standing room section down there. Seems every year when the Orioles come back, they add something.
Well, that'll get them paying attention down in the corner.
The corner, Carnegie and Ontario. And it popped up weakly the other way. Manny will call. And he's got it for the out, and 2 men down. Catch everything all season long by following MASN Orioles on Twitter. You can check out highlights of the game, go behind the scenes, and enter to win exclusive prizes. That's at MASN Orioles on Twitter. Or you could follow the Hall of Famer.
Tweet.
At Jim Palmer 22. What is it? At Jim 22 Palmer?
Yeah, that's it.
Where he puts out his fact of the day about the Birds.
Factoid or not.
The factoid from the Hoffer.
Well, today I'm not getting off the band wire, but it's code orange. Yep.
I see what you did there. You're playing off Adams' post-game comments last night about jumping off the bandwagon because of a bad series.
Well, he wasn't talking. I mean, he was talking to the writers and the media.
Oh, so the media jumped off the bandwagon?
No, he just didn't want us to. Whatever Adam says.
He's the leader of this team. Hard hit ball off the glove of Davis and in the right field. And Kipnis got ahead 2-1, got a pitch to hit.
You got to hang a change up the middle of the plate. You know what they're trying to do is pitch backwards, but at this level against good hitters, and Jason Kipnis is right in that category. You don't get away with that pitch. A lot of line drives at people so far. There's the change up. It's not a particularly well located one, and it almost kills Chris Davis. He's trying to get the glove on it. They got the heel of the glove with the wrist.
That's a base hit for Kipnis. Lindor batting now with a man on. And a breaking ball for a strike, 0-1.
He's a little guy. And, you know, anytime you see somebody from Puerto Rico that's a switch hitter, that's a gifted infielder, you think of Robbie Alomar. He's in the Hall of Fame, but a bigger version. I said, when did you start switch hitting? Because he's a natural right-handed hitter. He said, when I was 14, I want to be like my cousin.
Swept foul right by Robbie's brother, Sandy Alomar, who's the first base coach.
Santos. Pitched against his dad. Sandy Sr. was a pretty good player.
I remember him when I was a kid. Well, they list Lindor at 5'11". You're skeptical of that?
No. I'm just saying, he's not. I mean, Correa's a huge guy. Manny's a huge guy. Trevor Story much bigger. A lot of the new wave of shortstops are, but he knows how to play.
That's all Cal's fault.
How about Ronnie Hansen?
Yeah, there you go.
Way back to the 60s.
Rookie of the year. Runner goes. Pitch is swung on and fouled at the plate.
Of course, Cal, a great soccer player, great basketball player. He could pitch. For a guy that was scouting report said he's going to be the next Jim Palmer, he did pretty well at shortstop and third, don't you think?
Everything worked out for him.
428 home runs and lost count, but well over 3,000. What, about 3,100 hits, somewhere in that.
This ball's lifted to left center field. Long run for Kim, but he gets there as it hangs up high enough. And Kim gets to it for the final out. Led to the fourth are Chevy Do-Ups, Caleb Joseph, Adam Jones, and Hyun-Soo Kim. Brought to you by the RAV4 Hybrid. All-wheel drive and unexpected performance. Visit buyatoyota.com.
That car would match your tie and your shirt. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I like this tie.
Is that a Rick Dempsey?
It's a Dempsey tie.
TV tie.
Remember back in the days when Demper would give us ties?
Vaguely.
Here's Caleb leading off. Fastball's upstairs. Caleb bounced out to third his first at bat.
Yeah, if you look at Trevor Bauer, I mean, he's one of those high energy guys, and he's going to use his whole body. But when you don't stay over the rubber long enough, you get under the ball, and it's just hard to repeat that windup. Very athletic. That's what he's about. You see a lot of fastballs. He's gotten in trouble with a couple of change-ups and cutters that have stayed up. Good curveball though.
Center field for Davis. Caleb retired and one away in the Oriole fourth. The Orioles are back home at Camden Yards on Monday. They'll begin a 4-game series with the division rival Red Sox. Now, after the Memorial Day game on Monday, the matinee at 1:35, the O's and Sox will battle Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night, all 7:05 first pitches. So coming out and help us paint that ballpark orange for the showdown for first place in the AL East. For your tickets, Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. And here's the new leadoff sensation. Adam Jones batting leadoff for just the 30th time in his career.
His average up to 10 points. I've always told him, yeah, you see Orioles, and then you see the stripe, then you see 10. When he hits below the 10, he's about a 330 hitter. When he swings around the letters, the average goes down. Because what happens is he gets to 1 and 2 strikes quicker, and then they throw him the breaking ball, and it's just harder to hit. You just saw Caleb Joseph. He needs a hit, but he chased ball 3 because it was a 2-1 count and went out of the zone a little bit. And Bauer gets an out. And that ball down a little bit, it's a home run, or it's a double. Up, it's a foul ball. It's just hard to get on top of that pitch. Just bring it down a shade. Otherwise, and this is not against, this is kind of a, what did Adam say? It's against our DNA and not to be aggressive. Well, how about changing your DA just enough to maybe get the count in your favor? It makes it hard to pitch.
Ground ball sharply to third, gobbled up there by Uribe. And Jones is retired for the first time tonight. 2 away.
He gobbled it.
That's what veterans do. Uribe in his 16th year at 37 years old.
They corral, they snare, they gobble.
Snatch it up.
Snatch.
He is a very popular teammate wherever he goes, and that's probably one of the reasons they brought him here to Cleveland, to add a veteran presence, especially with the young Latin players they have. He's also kind of a good luck charm. It seems wherever he goes, his team ends up in the playoffs. Uribe.
With the Dodgers last year. So Kim once again works the count into his favor. Let's see if he gets a fastball. And got hit the first time, skied it deep to left field the next time. I want to hit that pitch. Amazingly sharp for a limited amount of at-bats. That's a credit to everybody involved, certainly himself, for not playing as much as he thought he would when he first came over.
Well, it's the Orioles' 46th game. It's only his 15th. Ground ball sharply hit, but Kipnis to his left has it. And Bauer has a 3-up, 3-down inning. First time the O's have gone in order. Mid-4th in Cleveland, the O's have the lead. By PNC for the achiever in you, and Christian Turnipseed, the closer at Delmarva, continues to have a good year, in particular with his command. 48 strikeouts to 14 walks. He is 8 of 9 and save opportunities. Drafted just last June out of Georgia Gwinnett College. So another one of the pitching prospects that the Orioles are getting a good look at in relief.
Yeah, the Orioles, of the 17 pitchers they drafted, 13 were relievers. Hopefully they'll get some starters this year in the draft. Out of Powder River, Georgia. It's a big league name. I mean, where do you come from, Powder River?
Mike Napoli takes ball one.
Second time through the order. He had a scorcher right at Manny Machado his first time up. Big swing right there. Yeah, we saw Mike Wright out in California against the Angels. He went to a different gear. Maybe at 4th, 5th, 6th innings. Kind of got the ball where he went 2 or 3 miles per hour. And again, right there, he still has trouble. You know, he starts low, goes high. Most people, they actually maybe would start with their hands high. They come down, break them over his knees. So he bounces a little bit, and it's hard to repeat that. That's why there's a slider, not a bad one, and a hitter's count. But he missed his fastball, the pitch before, by about 3 feet. And again, if you're going to pitch as a starter and try to get through the lineup, you really have to be able to repeat your windup.
2-2 on Napoli. And he fouls it off.
And this ball almost over his head. I mean, you could see just the whole body came up to try to get on top of it. Of course, Mike Napoli's always been one of the better high ball hitters around. Tremendous power, straightaway power. Yeah.
There it goes. Way out of here in left field. It's a 1-run game.
Well, Napoli liked it, but it was a horrible pitch. I mean, late on the fastball, if you hang a slider, I mean, that's pretty much the result. Now, it may not go out of the park, but you're going to have a good swing. Yeah, you want to pitch at this level. It's just the quality of the pitches just has to be a little bit better. And this was a hanger that the Indians say, I mean, just take a look right here. I mean, it's just right in the middle of the plate and gone off the bat head. Kim just kind of turned and wanted to see how far it was going to go.
So the 3-0 lead is now 3-2. And there's strike one to Jose Ramirez. That is the 5th home run allowed by Wright. 422-foot blast to the bleachers in left field. And there's a base hit up the middle. A lot of line drives off these bats.
Well, again, he's just not making quality pitches. It's not about how hard you can throw. Can you command the ball? Can you keep it out of the middle of the plate? You know, I had asked Dom Chidi and Dave Wallace, why does he just move over about 4 inches on the rubber? And they said he's happy. He thinks he's doing well. And, you know, it's hard to teach somebody that thinks that.
Juan Uribe now.
I'd like to have him play for Earl Weaver.
So
Earl would walk by and he would go, you think you're doing well? And then he would show him the hits per innings, the ERA, what goes on the 3rd time through the lineup, and he would say, I think it's a good suggestion. Maybe you listen to guys that know what they're talking about. And that's Wallace and Chidi. But, you know, somehow you got to get to the young guys. You know, most organizations, if you had depth in your minor leagues with starters, he'd be down at AAA again, you know, learning, maybe being able to repeat his windup, but that's not the case here. So you hope that he does well. It's just hard.
All right, so where he stands on the far first base side of the rubber, you're suggesting maybe going towards the middle?
You just go 4 inches. So your breaking ball might start on the plate. And because Rick Dempsey talks about it all the time. I mean, there's a guy that caught 24 years. He's going to go straight left here. So again, it's fine with the fastball. because you can aim right for the outside corner, but the breaking ball doesn't start on the plate, doesn't have a chance to be a strike. That's what we're talking about. So again, the quality of the pitches, it's just not good enough, and that's how you pitch as you get through a lineup 2, 3, 4 times.
And this is a hot team. They've won 8 of 11, Cleveland. Pop foul out of play.
And when I go left and I want to go in, it's just hard to do that on a regular basis. You kind of push the ball, you shove it. I look at Mike Wright. He's a big guy. There should be some deception in his windup. Because he could hide the ball well. And he's a big, burly guy. He's athletic too. He's got a lot of things going. Good arm. Wants to do well.
Ground ball towards third. Flaherty to second out there. Go back to first in a double play. Mike Wright needed that.
And then he's got a fabulous defense. So there he makes a good pitch. In on the hands. Gets the jam shot. So again, low and away. There's a good one right on the outside corner. Jams him. And they come in again. And then let your defense work. Flaherty. And then Schoop. He can turn to double play with that arm pretty much any way he wants. Usually he'll use the bag as a buffer. That time he just kind of hopped towards the pitching mound and flung it over there. One pitch, 2 outs.
Here's Chisenhall, who lined out a laser beam line drive to Machado, his first at bat. Chisenhall is out of Morehead City, Kentucky.
It's interesting. I asked him how he liked moving from third base to the outfield. He did it the last 7 weeks of last season. And he said, it's baseball. And I'm a baseball player. That's a skipper. Terry Francona.
Pop-up foul. Flaherty chasing it and just can't get there. Nice effort. That's what the guys on the Indians bench were saying. You ripped your pants for that?
But he has a pad. The good news is that if you saw, he had like a knee pad on there. Maybe he anticipated a dive, or maybe he was going to get on base. He's got a little pad under there.
Maybe that's what they were teasing him about.
Well thrown pitch right there at 95. Yeah, the other thing for Mike Wright, he stayed relatively healthy, other than maybe a calf pull last year.
He's a smart man, Flaherty.
He got to anticipate.
This ball's trouble if it stays fair. Flaherty out, and he runs it down. Nicely done by Ryan Flaherty. The ball ended up foul, but Flaherty corrals it for the final out. So the Indians pull closer on the home run by Napoli. None left. Flaherty runs it down for the final out in the 4th. 5 or more runs, you'll get 50% off regular menu pricing online orders at papajohns.com. Just enter the promo code Orioles5. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.
We need pizzas. We need pizzas for people in Baltimore tomorrow. That means they have to win. They got to score a couple more runs or more.
Selfie with Hot Dog Man. It's hot dog night. Dollar Dogs. Place your orders. Manny to the gap in right center field. That is a tweener. And it hits off the wall. He nearly hit it out. Davis having trouble running it down. Manny's thinking 3.
No.
Here's the throw. Here's the tag. He is out at third base.
Just can't do that. Never, ever do you want to make the first or the last out at third. It's a no-no. And you're right about almost missing a home run. Good slide. But then again, be able to evade the slide by Uribe. He has to slide wide. That's the cardinal rule. Well, Trevor Bauer is awfully happy about it.
So instead of a man at second leading off, 1 away and nobody on. That ball's crushed to right field. Chisenhall back on it, reaches up and makes the catch.
So if you stay at second, now you're at third. They're going to play their infield in, or at least at the corners. And of course, you're third baseman. He's going to twist and turn. Kind of a tornado catch. Twisting and turning, but catching. Hardest ball, line drive right at you. Doesn't always end up being right at you.
73 pitches, pretty good considering he threw 32 in the first inning. So here's Trumbo, 2 outs and the base is empty. So Manny is 3 for 3. His 19th multi-hit game.
Well, hitting. He's 0 for 1 base running tonight.
Manny had 5 hits through the first 6 games on the trip, and he's got 3 here tonight. And a good take by Trumbo as that pitch misses outside.
Yeah, he's just waiting for a ball in the middle of the plate and hope that it's up. You can see the ball's carrying pretty well here. You're right about that. I mean, that ball almost, he hit it so hard it almost went out of here.
There's a 2-out walk. Second walk allowed by Bauer.
Yeah, he led the major leagues in walks last year with 79.
Reimold 0 for 2, including grounding into a double play. He's getting the start tonight in right field. With Kim swinging the bat well, Buck Showalter now for a 3rd consecutive game has kept Kim in there, which means either Reimold or Alvarez or Rickard can't play because Trumbo then becomes the DH. And last night it was Rickard that got the start. Tonight it's Reimold. Pedro not in the game because Flaherty is playing third base instead of Alvarez. So the choices that the manager has. Really what it is it's what 5 guys for 3 spots.
Thank you for that. I was trying to follow the dots.
There will be a quiz later.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens is when you get Reimold or Rickard on the field, you help yourself defensively. When Trumbo can DH, better first baseman than outfielder, and then Kim's played left field better than they've anticipated.
Reimold gets a base hit. So a 2-1 pitch, so that out at third base, looming larger now. Orioles now have 9 base hits. Mickey Callaway, the pitching coach, is going to come out for a chat.
Well, he hasn't, Mickey, of course, done a great job here. I mean, they lead the world in strikeouts the last 2 years, set the all-time record 2 years ago. But I think he's probably going to try to get Trevor Bauer to, the fastball that Machado hit on, and then the line drive by Davis, those were fastballs. It just hung a change up to Nolan Reimold.
Jeff Manship is going to get up. One of 8 relievers in that bullpen for Terry Francona.
Yeah, their bullpen has been pitching well. Mickey probably saying, okay, let's go with a 2-run single that gave the Orioles the second and third runs. That was on a cutter. So how do you want to try to get him out?
Goes after the fastball and fouls it off. Jonathan 2 for 2. Ground ball RBI single drove in 2 runs in the first, and then he had a bloop single to right field in the third. So he has 10 base hits on the road trip. Popped them up. Napoli, Kipnis, and Napoli has it for the final out. So the Orioles get 3 base runners but no runs. Mid-5th, 3-2 game. Is brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, last night Jackie Bradley Jr. had his hitting streak end at 29, the 4th longest streak in Red Sox history. Dom DiMaggio, Joe's brother, Nomar Garciaparra, and Tris Speaker had the others. Now tonight the Red Sox are trailing Toronto 4-2 at Rogers Center, but Xander Bogaerts has extended his hitting streak to 20 games. Josh Donaldson 3 for 3 in that game with a home run, an RBI single, and an RBI double. So he has 3 of the 4 RBIs. Bautista serving his 1-game suspension tonight for the Rougned Odor incident in Texas.
For taking one on the chin? Oh, the hard slide. Yeah.
One on Jimenez. 0-2 on Jimenez. Davis on deck, then Santana. Jimenez flied out to Jones his first at bat. Indians have won 3 in a row to get to 25-20. They've won 8 of 11 and have 15 wins in the month. They're a half game back of the White Sox for the top spot in the AL Central. They have not been in first place since March the 31st of 2014, which was opening day that year. They won, they were in first place, then they lost, fell out of first place, haven't been back since.
Well, what, last year they were over 500 2 days, and it turned out 81 and 80. And so there's your breaking ball. You know, it's not a bad breaking ball, except when you start left and it never comes to the plate. Nope. It's just kind of a worthless pitch. And then if you kind of shove it back so you throw it for a strike, that's the one that Napoli hit for the home run.
And that is a bad walk. 0-2 on the hitter, and he walks him. So the leadoff man gets on with the tying run.
Yeah, that's a gift.
First walk allowed by Mike Wright. Rajai Davis struck out his first at bat. First season with the Indians. But it's his third consecutive year in this division. As Jim mentioned, he spent the last 2 years with Detroit. Sean Bunt pulls the bat back, and it's low, 1-0.
Yeah, the amazing thing, I mean, 42 strikeouts and 140 times at bat. That's a lot of strikeouts for a speedster. And when he gets on, even though you have a catcher in front of him, a single can be a double because of his speed factor.
Wild swing and a pitch that came up and in.
You know, he's 35, so maybe thinking he's got to get the bat going, and then just couldn't stop it. Almost hit him. Well, Mike's going to have to make a pitch here. We told you about the numbers. They go up precipitously the third time through the order, so you didn't want to walk the number 8 hitter, but you did. Davis with his speed, it's tough to double up.
Yeah. Perfect pitch there. Davis has bounced into 2 double plays. Indians going with a 3-man bench, just as the Astros were when the Orioles were in Houston. The 8th reliever. Two and 2 on Davis. Carlos Santana, the leadoff man, waits on deck. Two and 2. Count remains. The home run by Napoli leading off the 4th. It is the 5th consecutive game now the Orioles have allowed a home run. 8 of those in those 5 games, and 6 have come in the last 3 games.
Well, the pitch choice here is a slider, but that's the pitch that Napoli hit for a home run, so I'm not sure he trusts it. We'll see if he throws it.
Slow ground ball. Flaherty has to hurry, throws on the run, and safe is the call at first, and there's the speed. So the leadoff walk compounded now by the infield hit.
What a great play by Flaherty to even make it. The only way you can make it is barehanded. He might have got it a little bit up in the palm, so couldn't get a whole lot on it.
Yeah, he's safe. Chris had the lunge to grab it. So now the Indians are in business. They have the tying run in scoring position and the go-ahead run at first, and nobody out. Mike Wright had a 3-0 lead before he took the mound. The Orioles have not added to that. Now it's 3-2. Carlos Santana has flied out to center, popped up to short. He has grounded into 4 double plays.
And this is where the tension factor comes in, the inexperience. Trying to control your emotions. Just go about making your pitches.
Well, 1-0 on Santana. He's a very patient hitter. Outside, ball 2.
Yeah, and you could just tell a little bit that, there's a little different grip pressure. I mean, most of his changeups have been 82. That one was 78. So he flew open. And again, had to throw the ball back towards home plate. And the one thing about Santana, he's going to look fastball here. He does have power. Missed that home run the last time. Pulled it foul. I mean, big swing.
Well, Jeep inside the numbers, patient hitters. They're the walk leaders.
Well, he's usually around the 100 walk. Of course, Batista, one of the rare breeds of guys that, as we look at Dylan Bundy getting loose in the Oriole bullpen.
Ball 3.
And Bundy's been struggling. The last thing Buck wants to do is have to go to the bullpen, but Mike Wright may not leave him any choice.
Well, Santana certainly in charge here. 3-1 the count. Ball 4 and the bases are loaded. He's walked 2 in the inning. Now the go-ahead run in scoring position.
And here comes Dave Wallace.
Well, he was 0-2 on the leadoff hitter Jimenez, and then for 4 in a row out of the strike zone to Walker. The Davis infield, that was just bad luck. It was a real good pitch, but he put it in a perfect spot.
Yeah, but the walk sets everything up, and Dave Wallace is just out there, and he's trying to keep the snowball from gathering snow as it goes down the hill. That's the big inning, and that's hard to do when you get Kipnis coming up, and then you're right back into the heart of their lineup. The best hitters are now get to see you, and we showed you early on the numbers through the lineup the third time. Gets up into the 350 range. Now that can all change if you're able to make some quality pitches. Not tired, shouldn't be tired. But again, 86 pitches, and he's thrown 51 strikes and 35 balls. So it's not the ratio you really like.
Gets ahead of Kipnis 0-1.
Get the bases loaded in a 1-run lead, you'll give them a run to get a double play. Enhances your chances of staying out of the big inning.
And it's 0-2.
Real good pitch right there, up on the fist, right where Caleb Joseph put the glove.
So now he can go after a strikeout.
Struck out to 2 of the first 3, and then he was able to strike out Davis in the 3rd. Certainly could use it now. You're right.
Check swing, appeal to 3rd. Did not go. Cedarstrom said he checked.
And he did.
Bases loaded and nobody down in this 1-run game. Wright taking a long time to come to agreement on a sign. Struck him out. Swing and a miss. Oh, that's a big out for Mike Wright.
Well, take a look right here. Now you got to make some good pitches. Your pitching coach just came out. Strike 1 on the outside corner, up and in. Strike 2. Didn't get the swing. And there's a breaking ball. Swung right through it. clutch strikeout by Mike Wright.
So Lindor now with 1 out. He is 0 for 2.
He struck out his first time up, and then a routine fly ball to left that in this situation would score a run, which is what he's trying to do, stay out of the double play.
Up foul, back to the left.
I don't know what Dave Wallace said, but all of a sudden the rhythm came back. They're just throwing the ball exactly where Caleb Joseph puts the glove. Lindor coming in only a .243 hitter with runners in scoring position. This team probably what 5th or 6th in the American League, .266. And Jason Kipnis hoping that Lindor could pick him up.
Chase has won. It's 0-2.
Well, I've been out there where you want to make good pitches. You talked about the Jimenez walk when he was 0-2, and then you lose your command, and all of a sudden you find it. Of course, Mike Wright's hoping that he finds it sooner than later. Which could be back on track.
Tried to get in the chase. Lindor laid off. One and 2 the count. And slap foul. Two walks and an infield hit up, loaded the bases. Fans are really getting into it now. Big crowd here at Progressive Field.
Well, let's see if he goes back to the breaking ball, which is what he struck Kipnis out on. Nice play by Caleb Joseph. So a little slider. That's exactly what they were able to get Kipnis to swing through. This time he bounces it, not close enough to get Lindor to chase.
Well, here's your big pitch because you don't want to go 3-2 with the bases loaded. And again, he fouls it off. Lindor will see a 7th pitch in this at bat.
Well, he's a pesky guy because if you look at the way he came through the minor leagues, he doesn't strike out a lot. Doesn't hit a lot of home runs. He's a contact hitter. Of course, that's what the Indians are looking for. And Mike Wright would like to get a pop up or a strikeout.
Can't get around, but he keeps fouling it off.
Most strikeouts in the minor leagues, 490 at bats was 78. That's a high.
Eighth pitch coming to Lindor. Doesn't chase, ball 3.
Really picked that pitch up early. That's what good hitters do.
Moment of truth. Jimenez, Davis, and Santana 3rd to 1st. And a full count on Lindor. Time requested by Caleb Joseph. High pop. Not that deep. Reimold circling into it. He's got it. Here comes the runner. Here comes the throw to the plate. Up the line, and we are tied. And the other runners move up as well. So Jimenez scores. Good throw, might have had him. And the Orioles' 3-0 lead is evaporated. We are tied at 3.
Yeah, great at bat by Francisco Lindor. throw up the line a little bit, so it'll tail. Would have been bang bang, but when they do get another runner in scoring position.
And that's going to be all for Mike Wright. Here comes Buck. So Wright exits, gives back a 3-run lead. Pitching change in Cleveland.
Gets the early lead. Some actually good pitches. Kept this down on a great breaking ball. He would strike out twice. Lindor goes around. There's Davis down on strikes. And there's what we talked about, the second strike out that he needed. So a lot of fastballs, breaking balls, less changeups. Now it's up to the bullpen. Dylan Bundy coming on. Your Jiffy Lube pitching change brought to you by Jiffy Lube for participating stores. Now do brake services. Stop in and let Jiffy Lube inspect your brakes today. So fastball, curveball, changeup. And he has been struggling as of late. Kind of walked in with him yesterday and he said, I'm throwing better, but the results aren't good. And it's quality pitches. Home run guy at the plate.
Well, Napoli's home run in the 4th was his 213th in his career, and you see that's a high. Inherited runners stranded 50%. It's only the 4th home run in Napoli's career that he's hit out with 2 strikes. Very low number. You have that many home runs. Bundy has allowed 7 earned runs in his last 3 appearances, covering 4 1/3 innings. Trying to keep this game tied, 2 in scoring position. Nicely done by Caleb back at the plate.
We got 2 tough hitters. Napoli already with the home run, and then you got Ramirez on deck hitting 370 with runners in scoring position. The lefty righty matchup. That's a nice little number right there. 368, 2 outs. Well, Dylan Bundy being asked after pretty much being inactive the last 2 to 3 years to pitch at this level and do it under stress.
Just outside, ball 3.
Yeah, he will use all his pitches. That was a 2-1 changeup trying to hit the outside corner.
Second and third with 2 down. It's a fastball by him, 3-2.
Yeah, at this level, you just have to make your pitches and hope your stuff's good enough. And that's what he did there. 93, made a good pitch. Napoli, not that he can't hit that pitch, but he's a better high ball hitter. You'd be surprised to see him drop off a curveball here.
Another fastball fouled at the plate. And he popped him up. Who's it going to be, Flaherty or Joseph? Flaherty says, I got it. And he does. And Bundy gets a big out. And the Indians strand 2. But they do scratch out a run. The leadoff walk scores. We'll head to the 6th in a 3-3 game.
Adam Jones, the table setter. 30th time he's led off. Paying off right here. Batting average up. Again, base hits all over the field for Adam. Ball game tied at 3 apiece. As we go to the 6th inning, those are your Geico highlights. 15 minutes to save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote.
So 3-3 game. We're back even. Flaherty will lead off. Joseph and Adam Jones will follow. Bauer deals high.
And so Trevor got a reprieve. Leadoff double by Machado. Got himself thrown out at 3rd. And then McAllister hard throwing right-hander.
Bounce foul. Bauer has really settled down since that first inning. Even though the Orioles have been getting base runners, he keeps getting the big outs. And Machado ran into an out trying to stretch that leadoff double to a triple in the 5th inning. Flaherty is lined out to center field and popped up to 3rd. He's now 0 for his last 10. Bauer in his career is 1-9 against the AL East. The one win is against the Yankees. It's his 3rd start against the Orioles. He lost each of the first 2. Strike 3 call. Fastball to knees.
Yeah, really nice pitch. Ryan Flaherty gives up on it inside corner.
Here's Caleb Joseph that faced Bauer. Caleb has grounded out and flied out. He is now 0 for his last 15. Breaking ball for a called strike.
Yeah, he's got to look down in the zone, and the last time he worked the count in his favor. I mean, Flaherty hit a line drive, a sizzling line drive. He was unlucky. Caleb chased the ball a little bit out of the zone. He's a better low ball hitter. But you want to get hits. When you come in hitting 190, and had a terrific year last year, got up over 300 times, so playing a little bit more regularly. Mike Cutter. It's just hard to get comfortable. But the one thing you do know what you're going to get from Caleb is he's going to do a terrific job behind the plate, but he would like to get some hits.
Fights it off to stay alive here. Brad Brock is now getting loose. Looks like he'll come on in the 6th. Get Bundy a feel-good appearance after 3 straight appearances allowing runs.
Well, he got a huge out.
A little late on the swing, but he fouls it off to stay alive.
Yeah, but as we mentioned, Bauer, I mean, he could have had a big inning in the 5th because Manny would get thrown out after the double. Trumbo would walk. Reimold would get a hit. Probably bullpen would have been up. He would have been on the tightrope about getting relieved because at that time the score was 3-2. And the Orioles probably would have scored a run or two.
3-2 is fouled back.
See, that's a ball. And when you're struggling, Scott Coolbaugh, we did that interview. He said, you just don't see the ball. You're not, it's just hard to hit that way. You take that pitch, you go down to first. Now, the average stays the same, but you've had a productive at bat. That's hard to do because you don't want to be hitting 190.
Ground ball deep third, but Uribe has it. Long throw gets him at 2 men down. Well, it was a 9-pitch at bat, but Joseph is retired and 2 away. Fans, visit Orioles.com/vote-orange to vote for the 2016 All-Star Game. Vote at least 5 times and select the O's as your favorite team, and you'll be entered to win an All-Star Game jersey signed by the Orioles All-Stars. And if you vote at least 20 times and select the O's, you'll receive a promo code for a buy one get one ticket offer for any game in the July series against the Rockies. So vote early, vote often, vote orange. Orioles.com/vote-orange. Adam Jones in the leadoff spot tonight, first time this year. Lays off the breaking ball, and he's got 2 hits.
So the next pitch will be 1-0-0. So he's got 2 singles up the middle and to right. Now time to torch one. Maybe go out of here on that pitch.
Well, Adam is due for a long ball. He's gotten 44 at bats since his last home run.
And that was the home run off of Verlander that won the 1-0 game with the left center. It's a big hook, but just gets down in the zone enough.
A 1-2 on Jones. Doesn't chase. Adam with his 9th multi-hit game. He had got 9 straight games without 2 hits. There's a chopper slowly hit past the mound. Lindor gets a nice hop and he throws out Jones. And Bauer has a 3-up, 3-down inning. Mid-6th in Cleveland. O's and Indians deadlocked at 3. 3-3 game, bottom of the 6th. Here's Jose Ramirez as Bundy stays on. Hold foul. Ramirez has a perfect night going. He doubled and scored in the 2nd, then singled in the 4th.
I mean, he's really young. You know, last year you mentioned infielder playing the outfielder, but it's like he discovered how to hit in the offseason.
Bundy gets a fastball by him, a ball and 2 strikes. Uribe on deck, and then Chisenhall in the 6th. A little bit low.
Yeah, you could see pretty, I mean, a perfect night to pitch. Not too hot, but good share of humidity, which allows you to feel the ball.
Stay loose. Changeup fouled off.
Yes, you know, that's where Dylan Bundy, and he knows this. I mean, he's got a pretty good sense for pitching for a 23-year-old right-hander. He knows he kept that ball up, and that's why Ramirez hit it. He'll use them all, just can he command them? There's the target.
Base hit.
Well, that's
3 for 3.
That's just good hitting. Talk about using the whole field, letting the ball travel. Ramirez, as we mentioned, he's got the magic wand. Doesn't overswing, just covers the outside corner. He sliced it. It's right on the corner. Now, if you swing through it, if you try to pull it, it'll be ground ball on the right side. Otherwise, you got a chance maybe to flick it in and find an opening, and he did.
Putting on the sliding pad to protect his hand and fingers. Uribe has doubled a drive and a run. He's also bounced into a double play. That ball's hit well to right. Reimold is back on it and reaches up and makes the catch. That ball really carried. Nicely done by Reimold for the out.
You know, Juan Uribe, I mean, dead red high ball hitter, and he scorches it. Nice play by Nolan. Took his eye off it, ran it down easily.
Bruce Davis having a conversation with Sandy Alomar there. There's Chisenhall, 0 for 2. He has lined out hard to short and popped up foul to third on a nice running play by Flaherty. Ramirez has 3 steals. He has been caught twice. Real good changeup.
Yeah, you can see Caleb Joseph kind of getting side saddled just in case Ramirez runs. Throughout the minor leagues, you know, the high he had, A-ball was 38. Typical years in the mid-20s.
Fouled off the other way. Throw first to keep him close. 0-2 on Chisenhall. Upstairs, 1-2. Now Caleb has caught only 21% of the potential base sealers, but we should point out that he usually catches when Ubaldo pitches, and Ubaldo has had a tough time controlling the running game. Big lead off first, so he draws a throw. Ubaldo has allowed 7 stolen bases in 9 attempts, and Caleb has had the brunt of that work.
Yeah, last year it was like 23 out of 26, which is, that's what you can run on. The Orioles knew that if they look at the numbers.
Runner goes, pitch is taken inside, throw to second, the tag, he is out at second base.
Well, when you consider the ball almost hits Chisenhall, so it's actually to the throwing side for Caleb Joseph, so he doesn't even, I mean, it doesn't even bother him. Far in, so you don't see that angle. He gets a pretty good jump. Looks like he stumbled a little bit, and then the perfect throw.
Good tag.
Yeah, Manny comes up the line. Take a look. I mean, it's up and in, quick throw, tails right into the runner, snap tag, and you're out. The other part of that is Dylan Bundy made him stop.
Well, pop up, real good changeup. Flaherty's calling. Bundy wants it, and the pitcher takes it, even though Flaherty was there. So Bundy hauls it in for the out. Well, it's a 3-batter inning. We'll head to the 7th in Cleveland in a 3-3 game. Oh, hi, Ryan. How are you? Masson is brought to you by PNC Bank for the Achiever in you, and by American Standard Heating and Air. It's their all-star sales event with up to $1,100 in instant rebates or 0% APR for 36 months. Friday night in Cleveland, and Trevor Barrow's night is done. Our Express Care Stata LifeBridge Health partner. For locations, visit whywaitintheer.com.
Well, considering he really struggles early on, he settles down. The Orioles look like they might get him in the 5th. Manny Machado with the bad base running, so he's going to get a no decision. Zach McAllister's got to come on, and you can see doesn't throw a lot other than the fastballs, and he's got a good one. Now 95, he's got a curveball. I mean, he's got a little cutter at 89. That'll probably be in the fastball count. And then so there's a big difference, probably the 13-mile-per-hour difference. Good numbers. And again, I don't know. There's your number. Righties hitting him a lot better than lefties. Of course, Kim, a left-hander, will lead it off here in the 7th for the Orioles.
First at bat against McAllister for Kim. Breaking ball for a strike. Kim is 0 for 2. He was hit by a pitch in the 1st inning and scored. Rob Brock gets up once again. fastball by him. 0-2.
No, there's 95. Well, he did start. I mean, over the course of his career, he started 66 games for him. Best year as a starter was 9-9, 2013. But they have other arms, so he goes to the bullpen where he can air it out. You can see the strike inside corner, late movement. Young Soo Kim, you got to learn these guys, and you give up on it, ball runs back. Terrific pitch.
And Manny will come up. Perfect night going. RBI single in the first, single in the second, double in the fifth, but was out trying to stretch that double to a triple. Manny is 1 for 5 against McAllister, and the one is a home run. Orioles have not scored since the 3-run first inning. Nothing in 2 on Manny. Birds have lost 4 in a row. They're 2-4 in the trip, and they're now 12-10 in May. Showalter's team scored 3 in the first, but have not been able to score since. Meantime, Terry Francona's team has battled back to tie it. A ball and 2 strikes on Manny. And there's a bouncer foul down the line. Protecting to stay alive. It is 73 degrees at the moment, which is notable because it was 72 degrees at first pitch, so it's gotten warmer as the sun set.
It's the lake effect.
1-2 on Machado. Good take, 2-2.
Yeah, I'm sure their advanced reports said, hey, get ahead, bounce your breaking ball, but it's not close enough. It's not the same quality. Not that he doesn't have a good one.
That ball's crushed to left field. Back it goes towards the wall. That ball is off the wall and in play. Manny's tried for 2. It's a pretty good throw. The slide, he is safe. So Machado gets in with a double. I think he's found the stroke, Jim. He's 4 for 4.
Yeah, Ramirez actually plays it well. I mean, he jumps, even though the ball's well over his head. We talked about the one hit being a home run. Well, this got the high wall here. The ball hits the base of the wall, then comes right back to him, and then the strong throw. But Manny can see because the play's right in front of him, which side of the bat to slide to.
So Manny a 4 for 4 night after going 5 for 21 in the first 6 games on this road trip. And here is Chris Davis. Chance to get the Orioles the lead. Davis has struggled against McAllister. He is just 2 for 11. Chris 0 for 2 plus a walk. Upstairs with a fastball, 1-1.
Yeah, the guys with good arms try to overpower Chris Davis. Of course, it doesn't always work out over the plate. If you can somehow get it on the inside third, it's just tough for the Everclub swim to get to it.
Inside, ball 2. Davis is 4 for 28 on the road trip. Machado talking with Lindor out there at second base. Shift is on against Davis. Kipnis is in shallow right field. Fastball on the outside corner. Swung through it.
Yeah, I think it was even, you could see it's way outside. Not a strike.
Lindor is trying to keep Machado close at second. That ball's hit to the gap in right center field, and the Orioles are going to get the lead. Machado will easily score. Davis heading to second base with an RBI double. And the Orioles are back in front 4-3. Back-to-back doubles gets a run in.
Yeah, Chris Davis finally gets one right down the middle and doesn't miss it. So he tried to come in, he tried to go away. This one outside middle. This is where his power is, and he just hits it up the gap. Man, he gets a good read. They'll score easily. So they trade places. And the Orioles lead by 1.
So Chris with his 28th RBI. And a battle there, and on the 5th pitch he put it in play fair for a double. Here's Trumbo. High fly ball to right down the line. That chases Chisenhall in the corner, and that ball is gone. It carries out of here. Opposite field, 2-run home run, and just like that, the Orioles have a 6-3 lead.
Well, the big fly, and that's what Mark Trumbo can do. Already been on base now 3 times with a home run, a single and a walk. But he just guided down the right field line, and when you're that big and you're that strong, Mickey Callaway coming out.
Let's get a look at our Lexus of Townsend drive of the game, and we just saw it.
So a couple of doubles, and now the 2-run home run. I mean, the ball's in the middle of the plate, so he slices it, and then Chisenhall runs out of room.
Drive of the game brought to you by Lexus of Townsend, the area's #1 luxury dealer. Come see why at lexusoftownsend.com. So Mark Trumbo makes Cora Coates very happy. She's our Maryland Lottery contestant of the game, and she has just won another $500. The Manship now getting up again, so the Orioles have a pair of 3-run innings, still only 1 down, and now it's a 6-3 lead. Reimold is 1 out of 3 on the night. Fastball right there for a strike. Now, if the Orioles can get 9 outs and make this lead whole. Check swing at a breaking ball. They appeal. He didn't go. Dylan Bundy will get his first major league win. Still a long way to go with 9 outs.
No, but you're heading and trending in the right direction.
One and one on Reimold. Breaking ball for a strike. Buckled his knees.
Yeah, Zach McAllister, he comes in, strikes out Kim, and then back-to-back doubles, and then the home run.
High fly ball to center. That chases Davis back. He's got plenty of room out there. And he puts it away for the second out. 2 down in the Orioles 7th. Fans, the Orioles and Rays game that was rained out on April 9th has now been rescheduled as game 1 of a separate admission day-night doubleheader on Saturday, June 25th at 1:05. All tickets marked April 9th will be honored for the new game at 1:05. Now, the original game scheduled that day at 4:05 has now been moved to 7:05 as game 2 of the twin bill. So game 1 at 1:05, game 2 at 7:05 on June 25th. Separate admission day-night doubleheader. For all the ticketing information, Orioles.com or call 888-848-BIRD. Got it?
Oh. That's a lot of information.
I sensed you staring at me as I was.
Well, no, I've heard it now for weeks.
We have to let the fans know.
You're right. Everybody coming and thinking differently. Yeah, the dreaded so the game that was at 4:05 will be moved to 7:05.
Correct.
And then the other game will be a 1:30 game.
1:05.
1:05 game.
Thanks for paying attention.
No, I mean, so let's see. The pitching coaches will be disappointed because 4:05
He's now gone.
You can't see a thing.
And it was scheduled at 4:05.
Exactly.
And now, bye-bye.
Kind of like tomorrow's game here at 4:05, 4:10, whenever it's going to start.
So maybe that will help Ubaldo. Maybe it'll help Mark Trumbo. 94 miles an hour off his bat because it was a long fly ball that just kept going.
Yeah, the average, the ball off the bat is 77. We've seen home runs up to 110, 112. For him, it was just a fly ball. It was kind of the Frank Howard of the Orioles.
Scope to center field for Davis. And he puts it away for the out, but a big inning for the Orioles. RBI double by Davis, broke the tie, and then Mark Trumbo goes the opposite way. His 15th home run of the year, 7th inning stretch, and a 6-3 lead. In the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Dylan Bundy came on 2nd and 3rd and 2 down, facing Napoli, who has already homered in this game, and he gets him on a pop-up to the center of the diamond. Ryan Flaherty would come in and make the catch. That ended the inning. Even though the Indians did tie the game at 3, they stranded 2 men in scoring position as Bundy got that big out. And this is Dylan Bundy's game to win if the Orioles can hold on.
So Brad Brock will come on, and I was talking to the hitting instructor Dave Hudkins. He said, "Does Brock throw that hard all the time?" I said, "Yeah, well, he's having a great year. Had a great year last year for the Orioles, as he did the year before. So a lot of fastballs, slider, great changeup, low ERA. You see, this will be his 21st appearance, which leads the Orioles. Seems to he won't be the pitcher of record unless he gives up some runs. Righties hardly hit him. Lefties with a little bit over 200. And the 20 innings, a few more fly balls to ground balls. So the Orioles, as you said, looking for outs. They need 9.
Strike 1 to Jimenez. Davis on deck, then back to the top of the lineup for Santana. Jimenez drew the leadoff walk, Jim, in the 5th. And that was the at-bat that did in Mike Wright. Eventually that walk came around and scored the tying run.
Yeah, and it's 0-2. I mean, Brad Brock's 6'5". Again, a lot of stuff going on, and as long as the head stays straight long enough, I mean, Bob Gibson fell off, but his line was good enough, and there was a lot of deception. And Brad was talking about he's probably thrown about 26% of his pitches are changeups. He said I get a lot of swings early in the count with a changeup because they see it for the first time, and then after that I may get outs. I just don't get the swing and misses. Yeah, but the Jimenez walk by Mike Wright is not what he wanted to do. I mean, got ahead of him 0-2, and then mixed in a couple of breaking balls, and then missed with the fastball and ended up walking. Oh.
That ball hit hard to left field. Joey Rickard back on it, and it played off the wall. Jimenez gunning for 2. The tag safe as Jonathan couldn't hold it in his glove.
Yeah, if he holds it, he's out. Another hanging slider.
Good throw by Rickard.
Great throw.
Just in the game.
Well, he plays it off the wall, and then, I mean, here's the high slider, so he hooks it down the line. Nobody's playing there. Get to it as quickly as you can. Read it, and then he barehands it. And it's a little short hop, but if he can catch it, he's going to be out. Now, that's a tough catch as the ball short hops it.
Joey took over for Kim. Here is Rajay Davis. It was this part of the lineup that got the rally going in the 5th. Jimenez then drew the leadoff walk. Now he doubles. Strike 1.
Yeah, Davis would like to get him in. I mean, you're 3 runs down now, but you still want to move the runner if you can. And of course, if he gets on his speed, stealing's not out of the question. We're just trying to figure out how can we get multiple offense to get back into this game.
Ground ball up the middle. Manny spins and throws, and he got him. What a play by Machado. And at the same time, he holds the runner.
Yeah, you're down by 3. The last thing, Chris, Jimenez, I mean, right here, he just kind of hesitates because if he didn't really know exactly where Manny is, and you can see really nice play by Davis, too, because he slides to that side of the base. Again, a 180. This is third baseman playing shortstop because of the injury to J.J. Hardy.
Now, Manny's momentum took him out to shallow center field. Adam Jones was coming in to field that ball if it got through, and it looked like Adam was critiquing the play that Manny made. You know, former shortstop. From 1 down, here's Santana. Strike 1 on the outside corner. Santana is 2 for 3 against Brock. Limited appearances, 1 of those a home run. He's 0 for 2 with a walk in this game tonight. Changeup misses wide of the plate. Tremendous discipline, Carlos Santana. He just doesn't chase bad pitches.
Just around the changeup, so it's maybe a little more horizontal movement, which is not what he wants. Yeah, 113 walks 2 years ago, 108 last year, but again, well over 120s when it comes to strikeouts. A lot of power. 20, 27, 19 home runs the last 3 years. There's a good one. Back to back to back changeups. That's why it's so amazing to see pitchers like Brad Brock or Darren O'Day or any of the relievers, even for the Orioles or other teams, that come in and the quality of the pitches and the pressure of the pitches, it's just amazing they can execute.
And he got him. Big out for Brock. 2 men down. 4 straight changeups to get it done.
Yeah, and the last 2 were really good after he got around him. So, pitching's feel. But if you throw 4 in a row and you know what you're doing, and Brad Brock's in that category, he's able to make the adjustment. That's why he's got starter stuff, because he's got 3 pitches.
So here is Kipnis, who is 1 out of 3. He struck out twice. Another changeup. Kipnis is 0 for 1 in his only appearance against Brock.
Well, big out. You always want a 3-4 run lead if you can have it. Because if he's able to get the runner in, there's another changeup. So that's what, 6 in a row?
Yeah.
They got to run in anytime anybody gets on, and the time run comes to the plate.
Like right back on the bench next to Dylan Bundy, who's not going anywhere. He is the pitcher of record now on the winning side. It would be his first big league win. Slap foul the other way.
7 straight changeups.
Darren O'Day not getting loose. He would prefer to wait to come in the 8th inning. We got Asher Tolliver out there charting. Manship. Upstairs with a fastball. So that's how they keep track of the relief warm-up pitches. They give a clipboard to Asher Tolliver. Two and 2 on Kipnis. Runner at second, 2 down. Struck him out with a slider. What a pitch. And Brad Brach, after the leadoff double, gets 3 in a row, the last 2 by strikeout. We are heading to the 8th in Cleveland. The O's have a 6-3 lead. Join us tomorrow for more O's action. Game 2 in this 3-game series. Daytime baseball with Ubaldo Jimenez on the mound against Danny Salazar. Our coverage on MASN begins at 3:30 with O's Extra presented by Jeep. And then game coverage at 4 o'clock on MASN and on WJZ. We've got all the access you need right here on MASN. Orioles trying to break their 4-game losing streak. Here's Jeff Manship on for the Indians.
Yeah, a veteran minor leaguer originally signed 14th round all the way back in 2006, 31 out of Austin. So again, fastball, changeup, curveball, 91-ish. Pitched well early, a little bit of a struggle lately, so he comes in to try to keep the game for the Indians where it is. You can see 1 home run has kept the ball in the ballpark.
They go to work on the bottom of the Orioles order here. Flaherty, Caleb Joseph, and then Adam Jones. And there's a strike.
So Twins, Rockies, Phillies, and now with the Indians.
Ryan Merritt, the lone lefty in that 8-man bullpen.
He just got called up to the big leagues.
Flaherty to center field, chases Davis and gets back on So one away on a hard hit ball. Ryan's 0 for 4. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Orioles and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles.
Yeah, Ryan hitting the ball too hard today. That's 2 scorching live drives right at Raji Davis in center.
Caleb, first ball swinging, deep third. Uribe, the long throw in time to get him. And 2 men down in the Oriole 8th. Fans, you can follow Orioles baseball live with the MLB.com @BAT app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day. You get live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com @BAT, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Here's the leadoff man, Adam Jones. Adam got the Orioles going with a leadoff single. First time this year he's batting first, 30th time in his career, and this is his 1,284th game in the big leagues. Batting here with 2 outs and nobody on. The Manship went to Notre Dame.
Yeah, a lot of national teams won some gold medals in 2016 and 18. And then, as we mentioned, well, he got drafted early, didn't he? He was in the 50th round. He goes, I'm not interested in being a 50th rounder. So he waited to the next year and signed with the Twins. Of course, anytime you come up with the Twins, and he had some pretty good years. He was a starter. You don't walk many people. They don't allow that. Well, you don't. I mean, you know, they teach you fastball command. Don't always have power arms, but usually throw strikes.
Adam Jones towards left center field, and that ball's going to fall in there for a base hit. And Adam has a 3-hit game.
Well, I guess he's going to be leading off tomorrow. As Buck Showalter said, he doesn't really, you know, his lineups don't really matter. I mean, if you lead off, usually it's only the first time. You know, maybe just a little bit of focus. This ball club that has 13 hits and 6 runs could have a little bit more if Manny hadn't got thrown out after the double, and they got in at, you know, probably got to bed 5:30. I bet they're more relaxed today. Certainly looks that way. And then the pitching level not as good as it was in Houston.
Joey Rickard takes ball 1. It's his first at bat. He's in Kim's spot. Kim had an 0 for 3, plus he was hit by a pitch and scored. Joey's 4 for 22 on the trip. And that's a double play ball. Oh, excuse me, 2 outs. He doesn't need to. Goes to first. The base hit, 1 left, mid-8th, 6-3 O's. Orioles with 3 in the first. Indians tied it. Birds got 3 more in the 7th, so they're in the back end of the bullpen now. Brock got the 7th, and now here's O'Day for the 8th.
Well, there you go. Back into the bullpen. Brock comes in after Bundy does his job. He's been marvelous. You know, you had the one really blip, I guess, in a sense, where he threw the home run to J.D. Martinez to tie it, and then the Cabrera home run last game of the Tiger series in Baltimore. But he doesn't give up a whole lot of runs, throws a lot of strikes. Fly ball pitcher, but it doesn't matter if you're lefty or right. He's low numbers. And with Darren, usually, because of the command, you usually have to earn your way on.
This is only his third appearance since that Tiger game on May 15th. He got in the first game in Anaheim and the first game in Houston.
Yeah, that game, I had done the first three when Brian Roberts doing it. Look at Dan Otero getting loose. And pretty questionable pitch. Might have struck out. Martinez didn't get the call. He hit a home run, and then Cabrera can hit home runs off everybody. Once again, now you're down to 6 outs. The Orioles looking for 6 outs.
Lindor was Mike Wright's last batter. And our Coons American League leaders, brought to you by Coons.com. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting. Most singles in the American League. Lindor just one off Xander Bogaerts.
And Bogaerts is leading the American League in hitting. He's coming in tonight. He's a couple of points below 350.
And I think the Lindor at bat for Mike Wright, even though it was his last batter and it allowed the tying run to score, it got him the second out in that inning. He was lifted, then Bundy got the final out. So even though the 3-run lead went away, he never allowed the Indians to take the lead by not allowing Lindor to get a base hit.
And Lindor had a great at bat. I mean, he was trying to strike him out. He'd already, with the bases loaded, nobody out, struck out Kipnis. So he's trying to do the same, and Francisco just kept fouling balls away. And he did give up the sacrifice fly, but it ran the count to 3-2. Pressure pitch. He was able to throw strikes on many occasions. So he's not going to get the win, but he did keep the game in order.
Lindor is facing Darren O'Day for the first time, which is an experience.
Well, he looks to me, Jim, a guy that, I mean, doesn't overswing. He's going to try to let the ball travel and then just make contact like he did against Wright. I mean, he doesn't overswing a whole lot, doesn't you know, put the big swing on, waits to hope that he can recognize the breaking ball. But you're right, you just don't see too many people coming up through the minor leagues that throw from the release point that Darren O'Day throws from.
One and two on the leadoff hitter Lindor. We're in the 8th. Ooh, just outside.
Yeah, tried to backdoor him with the slider.
A 2-2 on Lindor. That ball's hit deep to right field. Back it goes, and that ball is gone. Wow, Darren O'Day got ahead of him. Lindor pesky to keep in it. And in that bat that started 0-2, the ball leaves the ballpark. It's a 6-4 game.
Well, they're hoping that, you know, one of the Oriole relievers comes in and has a McAllister, which is a 3-run inning. And it starts off with Lindor. I don't really think he's trying to hit a home run. I just think he gets the ball in his power. I mean, it's pretty much down the middle of the plate. Look at this swing. Level, great extension. And he just hits a nice crisp line drive. That's one place, you know, that same ball to left field is a double because it's off the wall. Here it's a home run. So the short porch is right where he hit it. So now when they do get a runner on, the tying run comes to the plate, which is what they want.
So the 4th home run allowed on the year by O'Day. It is the 4th hit by Lindor. And he was down 0-2 in the count after 2 pitches, and O'Day couldn't put him away. A pesky at bat. Outside, ball 2.
Well, the Tribe, 9 come from behind wins. I know the Orioles, I saw it in the notes a couple weeks ago. They were maybe 10 days ago. They had 9, one of the league leaders.
Same pitch, and this time he got it in there. 2-1. Napoli has seen O'Day quite a bit from his days in Boston. He's just 2 for 15 against them. One of the 2 is a home run. Good take, ball 3. 4 consecutive curveballs, and only 1 has found the strike zone.
Yeah, now because of the scoreboard, if you're Darren, of course, he talked about how these guys always live on the edge. I mean, that's what relief pitching's about. Home run guy, got to throw him a strike. Would like to be a quality pitch, but you also don't want to throw a ball. And he does. Look at that. It's another breaking ball. Don't know how they do it.
Lance Barksdale's had a good game behind the plate. Very consistent night for the home plate umpire. Here's the 3-2 to Napoli. Fouled off his foot all the way out to Flaherty at third.
Yeah, I think that was probably ball 4, but he was so surprised to see a fastball he swung at it. Yeah, we saw Brock come in and throw. He got some key outs. He threw 7 straight changeups. Darren O'Day, he just never ever can really look for anything. You get hits, obviously. Lindor hit the home run, but never really know what's coming.
Here comes the 7th pitch to Napoli. And he fouls it off to stay alive. Darren O'Day all about upsetting the timing. So you want to be a skipper. And he walked, and fastball misses outside. So O'Day has come on, solo home run, now walk, and that gets the tying run to the plate. Tremendously patient at bat for Mike Napoli. Spoiled a couple of pitches with foul balls. So an 8-pitch at bat results in a walk. Still nobody out. And here's Ramirez, who's had a perfect night. Double and 2 singles and a run scored. Ripped down the line. That is a fair ball in the corner. Napoli heading to third and on to second base with a double, and his 4th hit is Ramirez. 3 in a row of reach against O'Day, and the tying runs are in scoring position.
Well, like I said, they were hoping, the Indians, for a McAllister, and they're getting it. Doesn't happen very often. Look where the target is. Look where the ball is. It's a slider that stays in. He has a quality bat. I mean, he's been red hot. And then he hits the foul line. And the right ball gets to it. Nolan gets to it very quickly.
Orioles bullpen is quiet at the moment. There are no outs in the inning. So the key man is the runner at second base. Here's your rebate. That's the tying run. Waves at the breaking ball, 0-1.
Yeah, the Indians would love for him to make contact, and you know that's what Darren O'Day would like to avoid. I mean, he hits a ground ball to the right side, you get a run because you're playing back, unless it's right to Chris Davis. You know, Napoli, I mean, it's not slow. Not great speed.
Fouled off the other way, 0-2. Our PNC inside the numbers, runners in scoring position tonight. O's pretty good, 4 for 9. The Indians just 1 for 8.
Yeah, the Orioles came in, what, 8 for 50?
Michael Gibbons.
He's been getting a lot of work lately.
The closer, Alan Otero, who was up to pitch the ninth if the Indians still trail. Doesn't chase outside, 1-2. Uribe has seen O'Day only twice. He is 0 for 2 against him. And he struck him out. Wow, he came inside with a fastball, and Uribe couldn't reach it.
Yeah, perfect pitch, up and in, late movement. He's trying to make contact. Runners at second and third. A little conference how they want to pitch Lonnie Chisenhall. Because of the wrist injuries, only been up 12 times with runners in scoring position. 4 hits.
Chisenhall 0 for 3. And he will be walked intentionally so they can set up the double play possibility. Jimenez, the catcher's on deck.
Well, Buck's going to put the potential go-ahead run on. And set up a possible double play.
Chisenhall is 2 for 4 against O'Day in small sample size. One of those hits a home run. But this is all about the confidence in O'Day to get a ground ball. So an intentional walk loads the bases. 2 walks in the inning. Jimenez has had a good night. He doubled his last at bat against Brad Brock. He was the first batter Brad saw. He drew the leadoff walk in the 5th inning against Mike Wright after falling behind 0-2.
Yeah, only 1 at bat. And you're going, okay, who could he else use? Marlon Byrd, he's 0 for 3. Gomes 0 for 5. He's a backup catcher. Bring the guy that's already had 3 at-bats.
Strike 1.
Yeah, Chris Jimenez was on the disabled list. He had when he went down to Texas, he was probably going to be one of their number 1, number 2 catchers, and he got that shin infection. He was traded to the Indians.
He has bounced into 2 double plays on the year. Bases loaded, 1 down. A run in. Now, of course, the risk here by walking Chisenhall to load the bases is O'Day has nowhere to put Jimenez.
Well, you do that when you know your pitcher. And obviously, Darren not having one of his better nights, but he can be pretty masterful when he needs to be.
Swing and a miss, good slider. He gets ahead of him 1-2.
He's the type of guy, as you look at Vance Worley getting loose for the Orioles, Gibbons in the background, is that he tries to, obviously you haven't made the pitches you want, so pretty fast study. And he's been able to now get ahead of Jimenez, so he's looking strike out, or at least, even though he's a fly ball pitcher, get a grounder.
Foul back the other way.
I think he's saying, I probably got my pitch. That was a slider that stayed up a little bit. And if you're Darren O'Day, you're going, okay, what does my history tell me about trying to go to the same place I went with Uribe because of the count? Going to try to run the ball up and in on it. It's a pretty good high ball hitter. See if they try to do that again.
Hit towards Schoop. He's got it to Manny. One out there, back to first. Double play, and he gets out of it. Darren O'Day lived on the limb, and he survives. 4-6-3, perfectly turned by Schoop and Machado. So the Indians get one, but they leave two. We'll head to the ninth in a two-run game. Orioles baseball on MASN is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by First National Bank, redefining convenience in banking. A 6-4 game, 23 hits combined. Downtown Cleveland, Ohio, and here's Otero coming on to work in the ninth.
Well, last year with Oakland, in fact, the last couple of years, actually, his best year was 2014. Sinker baller, throws a lot of grounders. Not one of these flamethrowers, but guy that throws a lot of strikes. Fastball, 90, changeup, sliders, got a curveball. He's got them all. You can see he's a ground ball pitcher. Keeps the ball in the ballpark. So the Phillies claim him off waivers. Darren O'Day saying, I don't know what happened, but I did get out of it. Nice play by Schoop over to Machado to end that inning.
Manny's got a perfect night going. High pop up to right. And that's playable for Chisenhall on one pitch, one down. So the Orioles will have Zach Britton ready. Adam Jones having fun with the camera.
Yeah, Zach got a little tune-up inning yesterday, 18 pitches down in Houston.
Davis broke the 3-all tie with an RBI double in the 7th. The Indians in the ninth will have 9, 1, and 2. Davis, Santana, and Kipnis in this 2-run game.
Yeah, Otero, who grew up in Miami, went to Duke, and then finished college years at the University of South Florida.
Davis pokes the foul.
And you can see he just has a nice sense for pitching, and that, as we mentioned, that 1 year, I mean, one really special year. You go 8-2 with a 2.28 ERA in 72 games. Doesn't mark a whole lot, I guess. 15 walks in 86 innings, so he pitches to contact.
Another foul ball. Now the Blue Jays, after allowing Boston to tie, did beat the Red Sox. 7-5 is the final there. So Boston now 29-19. If the Orioles hold on here, they'll be 27-19 and 1 game back of Boston for first place. But even in that all-important loss column. The Yankees did win at Tampa Bay 4-1.
And the Rays going through a tough time, and the Yankees playing well.
Chris has worked the count full 3-2. This will be the 8th pitch in this at bat. And he got him on a changeup.
Well, he's got 4 pitches, and he can use them all. So he just elevates and he sinks it, and then you think maybe you get another fastball, and he just pulls the string. One of those guys that can pitch multiple innings because he's got 4 pitches. Well, the big blow tonight, well, one of the big blows was the home run, the 2-run fly ball down the right field line by this guy, Mark Trumbo.
Strike at the knees to Trumbo. Well, fans, visit MASNsports.com/CareFirst to vote for tonight's CareFirst Fearless Player of the Game. Live fearless with the name trusted for over 75 years. CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield. Popped him up. Catcher Jimenez calls. And he's got it. So Otero comes on and has a 3-up, 3-down inning. Those are 3 outs away from a win. Zach Britton coming on. Three outs away from the happy recap, 6-4. And the closer, Zach Britton, comes on to induce those final 3 outs.
Yeah, 12 out of 12. Sinker baller. So I actually worked on his breaking ball last night in Houston because he came in a game where the Orioles were trailing 4-2. Hadn't pitched since the previous Saturday. So lefties don't hit him, righties don't do much better. Looking like a 14-to-1 ratio of ground balls to fly balls. He will try to get outs, and the Indians will try to get a guy on. That's where it all starts for them. Another thing, you don't usually walk a whole lot of people.
Yeah, just 4 all year. Well, he's put together 8 consecutive scoreless appearances. He has a win, and he has 6 saves in those 8 games. We'll go to work on Rajai Davis here, leading off in the 9th.
And you maybe play a step in because of the speed factor. We saw that come into play back in the 5th. Leadoff walk to Jimenez, and that time was 3-1, and then he would beat out a little chopper to third. And there's the 97-mile-per-hour sinker. Dive bombing.
Davis is 1 out of 3 with an infield swinging bunt single. Slow roller to third. Davis is 2 for 9 head-to-head against Britton. Outside, ball 2. Indians a very patient team.
Well, like we said, I mean, at home they're averaging almost 5.5 runs a game. Orioles will hope that's where it ends tonight. 5.5, but not 6.
Bounce towards the hall. This is going to be a tough play for Manny. The long throw got him.
Yeah, what we've seen, Mike Bardick, of course, knows as well as anybody because he was a terrific fielding shortstop. The time clock. You move from third to the short, it's different. So again, you got to know who's running. He's got all the tools, ability to get the balls, to unload, strongest arm, no hesitation. He actually catches it and sets himself at the same time. And then the perfect throw.
Here's Santana batting right-handed. Strike at the knees.
Yeah, the ability for Zach is so tough to hit him. We saw the numbers for lefties under 100, but even righties, because the ball away, it just dives out of the strike zone, and then the ball that he'll throw at your front hip, you give up on, and then it comes back, and it can end up being a strike. Kind of gets his rhythm back, his release point, like there. So this is something he's learned, and he's having a Starbucks at about 7 o'clock in the morning with Dom Cheedy, the bullpen coach, and he said it's all started in November. Took about a month off after last year, and Chris Tillman, Miguel Gonzalez, they all live in Seattle, or excuse me, in Seattle, Sarasota, and there it is, right there, 97. They just started the workouts. And Tillman's having a great year. Gonzalez ended up going to the White Sox on waiver, but the bottom drops out. So highly conditioned, now a veteran. I don't know if there's anybody better. There may be guys as good. You'll be very, very happy that you have Zach Britton at the back of your bullpen.
28 years old now. 73 saves over the past 2 years. Ground ball to second. This could do it. Schoop has it. He spins and throws. He's got him. And the Orioles snap the 4-game losing streak. So a pair of 3-run innings hold up, and the Orioles get the opener here in Cleveland. So Adam Jones set the tone. Mark Trumbo had a big 2-run home run, and the Orioles pull it out by the final of 6-4. So the offense has returned. And we hope you can join us tomorrow. More O's action. Game 2 of the 3-game series. Ubaldo Jimenez will be on the mound against Danny Salazar. Our coverage on MASN begins at 3:30 with O's Extra presented by Jeep, followed by game coverage at 4 o'clock on both MASN and WJZ. And now for Jim Palmer and our entire hardworking crew, Jim Hunter saying so long from Cleveland, where the Orioles have won it, snapping their 4-game losing streak. Baltimore 6 and Cleveland 4. Tonight's telecast has been a MASN presentation. Stay tuned. Tom and Rick O's Extra, the happy recap coming up on MASN.